Good evening and welcome to Nox Mente. Tonight's guest is author and researcher John Brisson from FixYourGut.com. John, how the hell are you?
Doing well. How y'all doing this
Excellent.
evening?
Good, good.
Hello, John.
So, what's been going on?
It's been a day. Hell of a day.
It has been
Cocaine's
a day.
a hell of a drug. I watched a lot of Dave Chappelle today.
I was always a fan of Chappelle's show. It was sad that I had to end
Uh-oh, I'm
so
having
soon.
difficulties.
With what?
Hold on. I'll be good.
Okay. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you guys both great. I was just all this...
You lost your window again? Okay.
The problem of clicking... Yeah, I clicked over to the thing.
That's what
with
she
me.
said.
I'm sorry, John. It's good to meet you, though, officially, even though we're in the same server. So, yeah, Jerry and I are both all grumpy butts tonight. Just kidding, everyone. Just kidding.
Yeah, just me.
Just Jerry.
Arrgh, get off my lawn.
Mean old bear.
Not a
All
bear.
right,
Not a
anyway.
bear, I'm a twink.
Ooh,
Both?
honey. Ooh, honey. So we're taking the show already off track from the get-go. Oh, man. All
Do they
right.
call
Well, this
old
is...
twinks twonks?
Oh, a twonk.
Possibly.
I don't
All
know.
right, twank.
I don't know. I'm
Maybe
not gay,
twink.
so I have no idea. Anyway,
Oh, I didn't even realize. It's a thing in gay culture, huh? None of my
Twinks.
gays told me. Twonkin?
no bear.
Oh, bear, yeah. Oh, honey, yes. Mm-hmm. Big and fuzzy with a nice rounded belly, oftentimes with some leather on the side.
It's not quite that round. I mean, it's
Actually, you don't have the hair though, Jerry.
twonks or muscle twinks. Thank you, Raksha. Yeah, I don't have the hair,
Yeah, you don't have that. So you're kicked out of the bear club.
and I've already been dubbed the silver fox. So
You're very much a silver
fitting.
fox. Yeah, right, John? It's very silver fox.
At least he's got more hair than I do. I mean, I'm literally got
not
nothing up.
much.
Nah, it's all it's dying. So you got
You
more
guys are hilarious.
Anyway,
Guys.
I can rock a beard though. I can rock a
You
beard.
have a nice beard. You have a nice shape to your head too.
it's fluffy.
Nah, I was extremely premature as a child. The head shape my
Dude,
wife takes on me about it
Predator
all
would be beating the doors down to get to that head.
Oh man. Okay. All right. Well, let's jump into the show.
And welcome everyone who's here watching live,
Yes.
Yes.
Hi.
and
hi,
those
hi.
in the future. This is a quantum broadcast.
That's right. We're
The past, present, and
multi-dimensional. Mm-hmm.
Time does
0
not
point.
exist. 0 point podcast.
So let's just jump in with your past here,
Yeah.
and let's so really the pertinent stuff, like the earliest stuff you can remember, and of course the earliest stuff is going to stick out, and then as you move a little bit forward, the stuff that influenced you and that you were inspired by, or even not inspired by, but still sticks out. So
Okay.
we get an idea of all that.
Well, I don't remember being born extremely premature and dead, but that did happen. I was 3 months premature back in the time in '85. I was supposed to be born in December. Instead, I was born in September.
You were stillborn though?
They had to revive me, yes, and they were able to do so. Actually, I was like a pound and it was like 10 ounces or something. Like my wife can't even look at my baby picture because I look like a kangaroo fetus. I look so they should have put me back in the oven and cooked me up a little bit longer. I actually had to wear Cabbage Patch clothing. I was so
wow.
small.
This is your first stillborn though. That's
So I actually was okay after that. They ran a lot of testing for me in the UNC Chapel Hill. They actually thought that I was going to be mentally handicapped from being so premature at the time, and it turned out not to be the case. The type of testing that they did to me at Chapel Hill, I have no idea because they won't let me get the records. So I don't know. It was some special program or something that they were doing on extremely premature children at the time.
oh Lord, special program, red
yeah.
flag.
I guess possibly.
chipping program.
I don't think they chipped me, not yet. They probably took my DNA from my blood because I guess they were doing it, at that time for the database back then.
It's probably to shorten the clone length, the clone incubation times or something.
Yeah.
But I really don't remember much of my childhood. I was sick a lot. My mother died also when I was 7, 6, 7-ish. She had systemic lupus, which is why I was born premature in the first place. I actually wanted her to abort me, but she said no because she was a staunch Catholic, um, and she really wanted to have a child, and my father wanted to have a child. So
That's a very hard choice that happened. Wow.
I remember her being sick a lot when I was a child, and having to go stay with my grandparents. And I had asthma and allergies, probably from being so premature too. So I was in the hospital a lot myself. Um, and I actually, the night she died, surrounding that, I don't know if I was there or if I intuitively saw it through a dream. My father says I was not there. That their version of the story was they called me. I was at my grandparents' house. I was the one that actually got up in the middle of the night to answer the phone, and then my dad was trying to talk to me and trying to get me to put my grandma on the phone, and I was just started crying, and he was like, "Why are you crying?" Or what's wrong? And he was crying too, and he was like, "Do you know?" And I was like, "Yeah, my mom's dead." Um, and I don't remember any of that at all. I actually remember finding her in the trailer that we lived in, finding her dead. But they said that didn't happen, so maybe I saw it through my dad's eyes. I don't freaking know. But yeah, that was
This
one of
is
my earliest.
incredible.
That was one of my earliest memories. I remember one time playing Dr. Mario with my mom too, because she was where I loved to play video games when I was a kid. And I can remember that. I can remember one time it snowed and they're clearing the road off. But other than that, I don't really remember too much from there. And I don't know if I blocked it out. I remember coming back one time with my dad from Lumberton. I had to go. I was hospitalized there, and they gave me too much adrenaline. Actually, I almost died from epinephrine. And I remember us seeing a UFO, but I don't really remember much from it. I just remember pulling off to the side of the road and seeing something in the sky with my dad. And I was about 8 or 9. It was after my mom had passed away. Um, and I remember as a kid having night terrors after my mom had passed away about being abducted. And also, do you guys remember? It might be a little bit after your time, but there was these scary storybooks that had these really creepy illustrations um, that the artists like drew like the most like they were for kids, or they weren't really for kids. They're probably for like adolescents.
What were they
Um,
called?
just scary stories that you would in the dark. On the Cruising with Steak Discord, they Grimsteak had posted a picture of the book, and I remember reading that book when I was about 9 or 10, and having
Goosebumps?
it wasn't Goosebumps. No, no, no.
Oh,
I think the author of its last name was Schwartz. Um, but the stories in there like caused me to have even worse night terrors um, that were in that book at the time. And I don't know if I was just relating, having issues with my mother's death or whatever. Um, but yeah, I remember that, and then um, as I got older, that kind of went away. Like the night terrors kind of stopped, and the same thing that's been happening now has been happening for years. Is that the like a lot of people like they'll have nightmares and stuff like that. Um, the older I got, the less those nightmares occurred to the point now where I might have one nightmare a year, if that. And I don't know if there's anything to that or not. Um, but yeah, I remember having dreams as early as I can remember as a child, dreaming completely in color. I still do now. Actually being able to read in my dreams,
oh
which some
wow.
people swear they can't, but I can, or count or see numbers.
We
Um,
know people that read in their dreams too, but it does seem to be rare.
um, my biggest problem with my dreams is nothing ever works when I want it to. Like if I need to fire a gun, it never works. If I need to fly because I realize I'm in a dream, I never can.
So on that note, we kind of jumped around a lot, but on that note, where nothing ever works, do you, in those times, do you feel like you're actually awake in the dream, like lucid,
Always. I'm always lucid dreaming.
but you
There's not.
can't get your dream powers to kick in?
No, I can't. I know I'm dreaming. I know that I
Uh-huh.
should be able to, but it still doesn't work.
Interesting. So back up again, back up to the childhood again. Were you an outdoorsy kid? Were you out in the country? Were you in a city?
No, I was in the suburbs and I was very indoors. I mean, occasionally I went outdoors with my friends and we played, baseball or tag or went out in the woods. But mainly I stayed indoors and played video games since I was sickly as a kid a lot.
What kind of video games did you like?
The same stuff actually Michael Joseph had mentioned: GoldenEye, RPGs, Earthbound, Zelda, Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior, just mostly
Okay.
I didn't like sports games. I still to this day detest most sports except for wrestling. I love wrestling. I got that from my
Yeah.
dad.
Yeah.
But yeah, mostly RPGs and platformers.
Okay. Cool. So that stuff was in your, hanging around in your dream world too.
Um, Possibly, but I never really had dreams about. That's weird for me. Like a lot of people talk about they have dreams about movies or like TV shows or like music and stuff like that and everything, but not me. Most of the time my dreams they're about people that I know, but they're never fantasy characters. And they're
Well,
generally not fantasy settings either.
so if we can look at the nightmares you were having about the time around, after you were 7, after your mother died, what were some of those? Do you still remember any of those, any imagery from those night terrors?
I used to have one dream where I'd be stuck in the mall and each of the 4 anchor stores would be like an oblivion hole and I would
Oh,
have no control and it'd kind of be like a pinball game where I would knock against the walls and stuff like that and slip and fall and I would try to stop myself from falling into that oblivion.
oh wow.
Other times of being abducted by aliens, of missing.
What did those look like? Your alien ones?
I don't remember any of them. I just remember it happening. Like
Yeah.
I can't. Like I remember missing time of looking at the clock, and it'd be different.
In the
And
dream?
both in the dream and reality. Um,
So, and okay, because that brings me back to something I really wanted to talk about here was this UFO sighting with your dad when you were about 8 or 9. And so you naturally went over there with these. We went from night terrors to these oblivion to alien abductions, and now you're saying there's missing time outside of in your waking life. So, what about that UFO sighting do you recall?
just being on the side of the road and seeing it up in the sky. Because my dad, which we haven't even talked about, my father was really big into conspiracy theories, and at the time I wasn't. I was pretty much raised by my dad helped raise me, but he was a single father. So my grandparents had a lot of, I was very close to them. They had a lot of my upbringing. So my grandfather was like my standard like Republican, like neocon Christian, but he wasn't Christian like most Christians, where they kind of like beat you over the head with their Christianity. Like if you
Mhm.
talk to my grandfather, you would never know he's Christian. Like he never talks about religion because it's impolite, you know. Uh,
Yeah.
so faith was very personal to him, and it was very personal to my dad. But yeah, like my dad, I remember watching Star Trek with him and Sliders and X Files. My dad actually believing in that stuff. And at the time I didn't believe it at all. I mean, my father was actually labeled a paranoid schizophrenic, which I didn't really realize it at the time. Looking back on it now, I could see it, because sometimes he'd be afraid of like the flower van down the street, listening in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, my father, through all his flaws, I mean, he was a drug addict off and on. He used drugs in the 70s. That's how he got hepatitis C. He was sick most of my from 10 when I was 10 up from there. They got addicted to OxyContin. Went back on heroin, but I understand why he did it because he was in such pain from the liver failure and all the. He was actually one of the first people in the United States diagnosed with hepatitis C in the later 80s, early 90s, and was actually one of the first people to be put on the ribavirin interferon trials in Chapel Hill and in Duke. So I understand looking back on it now, like why he went back to using drugs, because at the time I was a teenager, I resented him for it. and he died when I was 18.
Oh, wow.
I found him dead, um, and it really messed with me a lot at that time. And I'd like to talk about later about the dreams that I have with him. Um,
Yeah, I definitely want to get into that. I'm always cognizant of how sensitive some of these things can
oh
be, but if you're open, I'm
no,
open.
I'm open to anything. Nothing is sensitive to me whatsoever. It doesn't bother me at all. I can talk about. I mean, I will. Later even get to my son's death. Um,
Oh my
but
God.
yeah, none of that. It's fine. As far as emotionally, I can handle it fairly
Okay.
easily.
Okay, excellent.
Um,
So that you, oops, I got a redneck going outside.
I got him too in North Carolina, so I got him going on.
Yes.
Just one?
Well, I've got many,
No, there's probably a lot.
Okay, maybe I missed this, and I'm sorry if I did, but did
It's
your
okay.
dad recall seeing this UFO?
Yes, he did. My dad used to say that both he was abducted and occasionally I was abducted in the old trailer that we lived in Brisson Road.
Well, you know that there's something to this. If you personally have missing time,
I don't as an adult anymore. I did
but as a
as an
child.
adolescent. Yes.
So, I mean, I find that super fascinating. It's definitely like we can talk about that later, but it's just really credible and fascinating. And I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
So, okay, and then just a little bit more in the background info is the religious stuff, where you started and kind of where you are now.
Yeah, I used to be a conservative Christian. I was raised Presbyterian. I was initially baptized Catholic, but my mom died before I was Catholic. Um, so growing up, I was a Bible believing Presbyterian. There was one of Trump's not ancestors, family members. I think maybe first cousin, second cousin went to my church, and actually I've been on Trump's yacht, the one that he sold to Adnan Khashoggi. I've been on that yacht. I went with a youth group, choir group up to New York City. I just don't know. I don't know why I thought that was pertinent, because I guess Trump was a Presbyterian, but yeah,
It's a fun fact for sure.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, I remember going to church, and my dad was born again, so we went to like a bunch of different churches. Even though I grew up in a Presbyterian church that my family always went to, it's called Highland Presbyterian. But he also went. We also went to Methodist churches sometimes. We also went to Pentecostal churches sometimes. My father had really strong faith. I mean, he used to speak in tongues, and really had faith, and I never felt like I had that. I would try in my heart. I would really try to at the time, but I never found myself to be able to manifest anything. And so when I became a young adult, I kind of became a little bit agnostic. Like I still believe, in my heart, but I didn't go to church. I still really don't to this day. I don't think I have to. And so I kind of just drifted, and I met my wife, and my wife at the time was kind of pagan, playing a little bit around with Satanism a little bit. And eventually she became completely atheist, which is I guess funny. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I start when I became a conspiracy theorist when I listened to Alex Jones when back in 2008. Red pilling me about the New World Order and stuff like that and everything, and kind of learned that religion was a lie and Christianity was definitely flawed with the Council of Nicaea and persecution of the Gnostics and everything like that, and how the Bible was formed and everything. I don't know. I just had to step back and really think of some things, and had to take evaluation of my life. I've always been witness to miracles because my dad swears up and down that, okay, so my mom was taken ahead of him by ambulance up to Chapel Hill, and he was following her by car, but he was a little bit farther back. And my father, would be witness to these supernatural events, and I've seen them myself, but not to the degree that he has. So he swears up and down that on his way up there, because he got stuck behind because of traffic or some accident or something like that. That when they were giving birth to me, an angel appeared to my dad and told him that I would be perfectly fine. Like there would be, I would, that I'd have, had issues or whatever, but I'd come out it perfectly fine. That I was supposed to live my life. And my dad believed in stuff like that, and I would always be like, nah, there's no, I've never seen anything supernatural like that, and everything until my son Abel, who was born six in the world with this condition called congenital myopathy with excess muscle spindles. It was so rare that it didn't even have a name, really appropriate diagnosis. I mean, it's like a 1 in 6 or 7 billion chance that a person would have this condition, and he was supposed to die. And the doctor told us that he was going to. And he was on a ventilator for about 3 or 4 months when they were trying to figure out exactly what was wrong with him. And I remember one day, my wife and I were praying about what to do, and talking about it. And I had decided to, well, we both had decided to take him off the ventilator because we didn't want him to suffer. And he actually spit the tube out while we were having that conversation on his own, which
Wow.
medically is
That's
impossible.
synchronous. Yeah, that's
Because
crazy.
medically is impossible because his throat muscles and his lungs should have atrophied by then. He was actually breathing better off the ventilator than he was on the ventilator, which was also supposed to be impossible too. So, I mean, when you look at everything, I mean, I consider myself now to be a Gnostic, who believes in Yeshua. I do have a lot of Gnostic beliefs about the archons and, about the planet that we live on and everything like that. It's definitely different than how I was when, I was, Christian 10, 15 years ago. Um, but I mean, I guess in some ways it's kind of the same. I follow the right hand path, believe in doing what's right as much as I possibly can, and trying to enlighten myself, gnosis, and enlighten others. So I don't know. Maybe I haven't changed, and maybe I've always known, and somewhere deep inside of me, that there has to be some truth to things that I cannot explain. You know, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's two sides of my mind. I got a rational side that always wants to say, or a logical side, I should say, that always wants to say this. There's nothing supernatural. Then I have the supernatural, intuitive part of my mind that says everything is.
Yeah.
And they're always fighting with each other. Now and
But I know that I can't think of his name. I think it might be Steve Quayle. I don't know. But I do consider the Bible a supernatural document. I mean, it's talking about lots of supernatural stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how a lot of Christians think about that, but reading it, just reading that document, especially some of the really juicy books in it, it comes off like an older written supernatural thriller.
yeah, I mean, very much so. I mean, I just hate that the Gnostic works, majority of them were burned and will never be read, or they're at the bottom of the Catholic vaults.
Yeah. Oh, the Vatican vault. Oh, Lord.
And that upsets me,
Yeah.
because I would love to read them, and I have
Yes.
read majority of the Gnostic texts myself and books about Gnosticism and everything. So it's just upsetting to me that I'll never get to read them. And
Well, do you think that plays into some of the conspiracy stuff? I mean, clearly this stuff is, I think it's obvious that there was some cover up with our history, right?
of course, missing. You talking about the timelines as far as the history. We're talking about Atlantis or Lemuria or Mu or
Any of it that would serve like organizations like the Vatican to cover up information and allegedly burn or hide documents that would create an alternate story.
It's all about control. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't let it out. And now, whether it's supernatural like the archons or it's man itself doing it, it could be listed as either or.
Or both.
Yeah. Or both. Love that always. Okay, so, and then just to finish up on the background stuff, are you by chance Rh negative?
No, I'm Rh positive.
And just with all this going on too, I was sure you were going to say yes to Rh negative. I was like, what else can there be
AB
there?
positive, believe it or not, which some people say is antithesis of O negative.
Isn't AB rare though?
I thought the Antichrist was going to have AB positive blood.
Well,
No,
it's
I'm
not
kidding.
me, so.
But AB is rare.
It is.
Yeah.
Um,
It's kind of like the The Lyme disease of blood types. You know, it's the general category you get stuck in if you're not the other ones.
Oh, Jerry.
Oh, Jer. We need like a little sample for it, like a sample of that. Okay, and then also, do you know like just like your basic? I know. Did I get cut off, Jer?
You did for a second, yes.
Oh no, the bots are onto me.
Yes.
So what about your just basic astrological stuff?
I have no idea. I mean.
Do you know your sun sign?
No, I have none
What's
of it.
your birthday?
I don't practice.
What's your birthday?
September 2nd, 1985.
It's Virgo, right?
Yes,
wait, September 2nd. You knew that.
Yes, I know I'm a Virgo. That's all I know. Like,
okay. That's all right. It's just kind of just background info, and especially for some of the astrologers.
I know Virgos are like neat and orderly by nature, and
well, organization. They're ruled by Mercury. Okay, so let's get into like you'd already given us a little teaser here, though. You said you dream in color and you can read. So tell us more about how your general landscape is like currently when you're in the dream realm.
I mean, sometimes it'll be dreams where it'll be what I've done during the day or talking with certain people. Like, not to sound weird, but that hive mind that we did the other night, Jerry, I dreamed about that right afterwards that we were talking, but it was different than what we had already talked about.
I love that you said hive mind.
I had a similar dream.
I'm not really intuitive in my own personal life, like how my wife is. Like my wife will dream something, personally happen to us. I'm more intuitive about dreaming about things that happen in world events.
Wait, so you just said you dream and they come true in world events?
Sometimes I can use intuition to call, like nothing major, like I can't pinpoint earthquakes or anything like that. But if something goes the way it's supposed to go in the news or something like that, like maybe with this whole like the Kanye West thing that's going on right now,
which I'm not familiar with.
Kanye West and being pro-Trump and being pro conservative.
Yeah, I knew that.
It's just smoke screen. It was a smoke screen for Israel attacking Syria. And I intuitively knew and dreamed, not necessarily that Israel was going to attack Syria, but knew that the Kanye thing was fake.
Interesting.
It seemed to be very distractionary, with intention.
Man, I
much
missed
like
all that,
the
though.
Israel Netanyahu PowerPoint.
Yes.
Like, when have you ever heard about someone using a PowerPoint as news? I just thought it was
Americans love PowerPoints. They love projections. I mean, Sean Hannity said Netanyahu's the Winston Churchill of our time. Well, Waldbanger did. I mean, if people like flashing lights and slides and YouTube videos.
Obviously. But I'm saying, though, that every world leader and every presentation you ever go to uses PowerPoint. So why would they highlight it? And it seems like either paid promotional thing or it's something code or something. I mean, it's just weird.
Maybe it's just a little Easter egg tidbit in the timelines. Is that what we're dealing with now?
I think it's a paid, product placement.
Sometimes I don't want to say like I'm John Nash, but sometimes I swear that certain things do happen just purposely for people like you and I, Jerry. That just left there just so
we know and no one else catches that. Like,
yeah, just so we know, that shit ain't quite what we think it is.
And we left it for ourselves to find, right?
Yeah,
yes,
that too.
In the end.
Or it's just for all good fun and all good joke.
So yeah.
But, that's interesting though.
I mean, dreams now, I don't know, like, it's rare that it's ever a nightmare of like zombies or someone trying to break in to kill my family or stuff like that. Like most of the time it's just things that happen to me in a daily life, things that I'm thinking about or researching at the time. Or sometimes it can get a little weird, like I'm astral projecting stuff like that. But
can you tell us about the astral projecting dreams?
Sometimes it's me going to check up on, see what someone's doing, but I don't think I'm leaving my body though. That's what's weird. Is most people who astral project claim that they leave the body, but I don't think I do. I think I'm able to do it in the dream dimension without my soul actually leaving my body.
I don't think they actually leave their body.
Well,
I don't think
true,
anyone is.
but,
You're projecting your consciousness, so it's more like a sensory remote viewing.
but most people claim that they're like tied to something, or
Oh,
like,
that the silver cord they talk
I
about.
would
That's kind
argue
of like
that's a
old
belief
language.
system, you know?
Yeah, I
I mean,
agree.
but to me, it's almost like I'm tapping into different timelines and stuff like that. Like, it's a little bit different. Maybe I'm just looking at it wrong. I don't know, but it just seems to be how it manifests itself.
Dude, we're talking about dreams. There's no wrong or right.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Sure,
It's
right,
like,
exactly.
seriously.
I find it interesting, though, that you could possibly be dreaming about astral projecting versus.
It
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
that might be what's going on. But usually when I do that, sometimes or if I dream that I need to talk to somebody, it's weird. Like, they'll call me a couple hours after I'm waking up. Like, somehow they know. Like, I can contact, like, psychic magnetism in my sleep or something. It's really weird. Works most of the time. I mean, I'm not even talking about friends. I'm talking about, like, if I need to get in contact with, like, someone I'm trying to talk to or something. Weird how it works. Like, it does. It's almost like I can manifest it in my dreams. Which, I mean, a lot of people talk about that. Nothing special. I mean, yeah, the craziest things to me is when I dream, it's always HD clear. And I don't know if that's because I've taken so much iodine that I've opened up the pineal gland enough, and I get so much sun, melatonin's cranking. That's why, if you're looking at it from a physiological standpoint. But I mean, it is. I can recall my dreams too. Like, the dream I had last night was that for some reason, I ended up going to the cabin meetup that all the Grimerica people are going to, but I'm not going to end up.
You're not going.
I can't go.
Aww.
But I was there, and I was trying to convince Darren that chemtrails were real, and I could smell like a combination of like indica and the ocean.
Ooh, I like that combo.
I'm sure that's an accurate smell.
And then I woke up. So usually that's what my dreams are. They're just me talking to me, or me getting info from me. And sometimes the info turns out to be true synchronistically I'm able to validate later. Sometimes it's not. I mean, I guess my dreams are in that regard. Like, I know most people dream about, like, I don't know, superheroes. I've just never really done that. I mean, I've had some dreams where I've boat viewed and, like, the underground sewers underneath Fort Bragg near where I live and stuff like that. I remember Comet Pizza Ping Pong being able to view Best of Pizza. Uh, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, I don't know. Some people talk about leaving their body and astral projecting, but it's like almost I'm doing it without leaving. Best way I can explain it. Maybe it's a form of remote viewing in my dreams.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. I mean, the folk people would say it's dreaming true, which I love the folk language. And I do it too. So I'm with you on this. What I'm taking out of this, though, which is extra cool, is your sense of smell.
Yeah, I can smell things, and I can't smell in real life either. I lost my sense of smell from silent reflux. Something has to be like right up in my nose to smell it. Where in my dreams, it's extremely potent. All my senses are heightened. Hearing, visual, like, it's like the crispest visual. Like, I have 20/20 vision, but it's like the clearest visual ever. Like, I can't explain how crisp it is, and I don't know why it's always been like that ever since I was a kid. Where, like, I don't understand how people dream in black and white. Like, I've always just dreamed in HD clear.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's always just been weird like that. Like, to me, and everybody, like, people hate going to sleep, and me, I've never been except when I was a kid when I was having night terrors. But as an adult, um, I'm not afraid to go to bed. Like, I'm not afraid to go to sleep and have dreams. They rarely ever, like, I mean, like I said, I might have one nightmare once a year, and that's it.
yeah.
Even then, I just wake up.
I
So
look forward to every time I close my eyes. So let's talk about what your ability to read in dreams, which I just super love. Do you have some maybe concrete examples?
if someone gives me a piece of paper in a dream, or I pick up a book, I can read it. Or if there's a signpost or something, like I can read what's on there. It's never like a whole bunch of jumble up letters. Like I can actually see the words and I can read them. It's not like my mind just imagines the words to be there. I can actually read like reading a book. It's always been that way.
And is any of it ever pertinent? Like, do you follow? Is there like go here, or is it information that you actually need, or takes you further into like a journey, or you use here in waking life?
Waking life, yeah. And most of the time it'll be a complex problem that I'm trying to solve. And someone will hand me like a note in a dream, or I'll pick up a book, and then all of a sudden it'll be something that I never thought about previously.
That's cool.
It's not
I
it's
kind of
never
refer to that.
it's never choose your own adventure or anything like that. Like, I never
Yeah.
get any help in my dreams in that regard of how I'm supposed to continue my dream and stuff like that. Like, with my dad, like, there's two dreams I wanna talk about. One is when I dream about my father. I don't dream about my mother. I only dream about my father. Um, every time I dream about him, it's either in the past, and I always in my dreams, 9 times out of 10, in my mind, I go, "You're dead. You're not alive. Dead. This is a
Are you
dream."
emotional when you encounter him from the past?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
So when you're trying to convince yourself that he's dead, or him, I guess, in these experiences, are you emotional during those times, or those times are you more matter of fact?
Most of the time, the dreams will be it's more matter of fact, but most of the time the dreams will be like, it's what if he survived most of the time.
Okay.
And in my brain, I know he's dead, but I'm like, oh, and I'll start talking to him, and then he'll talk to me. And sometimes it'll be about problems, or like I said, sometimes he'll pass me a note or a book, and he'll be like, "Oh, this is what you're looking." Or sometimes it'll be, I'll be like, "I know you're dead, this isn't real," and then I'll usually wake up when that happens. It's never like I'm sitting on a bench out in the middle of nowhere and my dad just walks up in a white suit. He just kind of looks how I imagine him to look like now,
Yeah.
like a little bit older. you know. And he's always friendly. It's never a panic dream or anything like that. It's never scary or anything. Some of my rare panic dreams that I do have, which I don't really consider them nightmare because I don't wake up in a panic. It's just kind of a panic dream I have. Is I go back in time before I met my wife when I'm about 19 or so, and my dad's still alive. But my dad wasn't alive at the time in reality, but in this dream he is. And I try to convince my wife that we're married and we have kids. And I'm trying to talk to my father-in-law. I'm like, you know me, but they don't know me because, it's a dream, you know. And somehow I've gone back in time. It's usually a stress dream for me, but I don't really consider it a nightmare because I don't really wake up panicking, scared, or anything like that. I kind of just wake up and I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna.
Does when you encounter your father in dreams, does he ever give you information that like what kind of information does he bring you? What are the actual interactions like?
Um, he'll give me a note or a book sometimes, and we're talking, and he'll be like, "Open this book," and the book usually will have some made up title that doesn't exist, like it's not a real book. you know like for health stuff, he'll give me like a book, and it'll be on gut health, but I didn't write it, and I'll open it up and it'll have maybe something that I'm missing, or something that I haven't put together beforehand, um or if it's researching conspiracy theories, he'll or sometimes maybe it's not even a book. Sometimes he'll be watching something on the television, and he'll be like, "Hey, watch this," and then it'll be like two people together. Like, I remember one time I was trying to put together Lawrence Pat McDonald in the Council for National Policy, and Lawrence E. King from the Franklin cover up. I remember one time I had a dream where my dad was watching this documentary on TV that it doesn't exist to my knowledge, and it was talking about their actual connection um, was through Tim LaHaye and um, I can't think of the Larry Pratt. And so I didn't even know that it was just something that I just saw on the television. And then lo and behold, I woke up and I was like, huh. And then I got in a shower and started thinking about it further. And I looked back, and sure enough, there was a connection between the assassination of Lawrence McDonald and possibly the Council for National Policy and Larry Pratt and all that. So it was something that he had given to me in the dream that I never previously had thought about before. And that happens every so often.
That's astonishing, and this is exactly the kind of stuff I want to get more of, especially with our dead ancestors. This is because that's tangible. That's like you pulling this into your waking life, and it's real and tangible as we define it here. Um, when you're okay, so let's talk about your father for a minute, since we
Okay.
are talking about the dream experience. When you can you kind of just describe when you found him and all that was going on around that particular period, and as that kind of dives into your unconscious and your dream as well?
Yeah. Well, I found my dad dead right before I was going to go off to college. It was that July. And actually, the night beforehand, he was feeling very ill, and I didn't know his liver was failing at the time. It had been failing for about a day or so beforehand. He was in a lot of pain, and I remember him asking for something to drink. And so I went to get it, and a soda can fell on the top of my head. It hurt pretty bad at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I went and got him the drink, and I yelled at him. And that's when I woke up and found him dead the next morning.
Oh wow.
So, I kind of felt shitty at the time for that for a long time.
Of
And,
course.
um, I remember when I found him, just crying, and shaking him and trying to do CPR best I could. I didn't know how to do it. And he was just, I mean, he had been dead for a couple hours. I mean, he was cold and completely stiff from the chest up. Um, and it really tore me apart. I mean, I actually had a mental breakdown. I was going to college. I was going to UNC Charlotte in a full paid scholarship to study computer programming, and I had a mental breakdown at school. My health got really sick, got really ill, and felt really bad, and came back home. And I was going through a really tough period during that time. Like I mean, I was really, I didn't think I was gonna be able to hold it together. Um, and I
Were
realized
you
later.
angry also? Were you like going through the whole gamut of stuff, or were you down and out in depression?
It's no, I don't suffer from depression very often, any at all. I was more having mental schisms and
Okay.
anxiety,
Yeah,
um,
okay.
and panic attacks and stuff.
Hmm.
And as per my genes favor more anxiety and high dopamine than depression.
Yeah.
Um, so and that's when I met my wife. It's my girlfriend at the time, and she helped me out with a lot of issues that I was having. Um, and because of her, I was able to keep it together. Um, and uh, and that's pretty much about it. I mean, I just stayed here. I didn't go back to college. Um, I mean,
So,
I eventually later on got over and realized that my dad knew I loved him, so he couldn't necessarily be angry with me.
yeah, of course.
And I eventually, accepted my father's death and grieved it properly. And and I look back on it now. I mean, now the only thing that makes me sad when I think about him is that my children will never get to know him.
Yeah.
That's all. It's not like I look or something. I mean, I guess it's rare sometimes I'll be like, man, I wish I could really talk to my father, because through all his flaws, I did have a good childhood. I did have a safe childhood. It could have been a hell of a lot worse. I mean, I lost both my parents and I was sick and
Yeah.
everything like that, but I was loved. I was
Yeah.
cared for, and I knew that I was loved. And a lot of people don't have that.
Oh yeah, it's
And
true.
and so everybody always, feels bad for me um because I've lost so much. But that's one thing that's always my family was always extremely loving through my grandparents, through my dad, through my mother. Um, that's one thing I never had to worry about. And a lot of people have to worry about that. And it really can cause a lot of problems in people's psyches and their soul, coming from having an unloving childhood.
Yeah,
Um,
the love is the greatest gift, and if they see it, if you know it's there, then I mean that's the gold.
And my dad always, always hugged me and told me he loved me and everything like that. Because my grandpa used to be very emotionally distant, but he wasn't after I was. Like, I always know my grandpa as being very loving, would hug
Hmm.
me too and everything like that. But my dad claims he used to not be. So my dad made the decision a long time ago that if he was ever going to have kids, that he would not be that way.
Are you an only child?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Your first dream, there's a couple, I have a couple questions here around this. Your first dream that you recall of your father after he passed, do you actually recall it?
Yes, I can recall that dream. It's the only one where it's kind of like a stereotypical dream where I'm sitting on a park bench out in the park, and he comes up to me, um, and he's wearing like a really nice suit, you know. He sits down beside me and we just talk, and I just cry and cry and cry about how much I miss him, how hard it is, and how I just my whole senior year I kind of was growing up and I was going through my own growing pains. So he was still proud of me because I still did very well in school, got into college and everything, but I kind of distanced myself, because I was resentful that I couldn't be a normal child, I had to take care of him a lot growing up, and I really carried around that caregiver burden, and had went through
Yeah.
some caregiver burnout too. I really regretted it, and I remember in that dream just crying and just telling how sorry I was, and just telling me it was okay. And kind of after that, I did weirdly kind of get better. That
Hmm.
was a couple
Yeah.
of months afterwards. Um, so yeah, that was in my dreams. My father is never angry. He's never
Do you
angry.
feel like it's continued your relationship? I mean, for me, that's how I feel with my loved ones that have passed.
Yes, yes, I do. I still see my grandmother from time to time. I still see my father. I don't see my son very often, but that's because he died when he was 3 and he couldn't really talk anyway. So I can kind of see why I don't.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
I want to get to your son here in a second, but there is a sense of listening to you speak. At least I wouldn't know they were past, because in the way you present this is a continuing relationship, and it really comes across.
well, in my mind, they're not dead. I mean,
Yeah,
what is dead? You know?
I know. Well, we get into that. Okay, so I was also intrigued with these. So this dream of your wife, that you had of your wife, the early one with the parent, that was after your father died, but was it before you met her? So it was before you actually met her.
Well, no, no, that's the dream I still have now. It wasn't before I met her. Now you might find how I met my wife very interesting is she appeared to be both times in my life, physically, when both my parents died and when she was going through traumatic experiences in her life too. So we met actually in the first grade when my mother had died, and we were really good friends during that time period, very close with one another. And
Oh
then I
wow.
never saw her again. We had mutual friends, but I never saw her again until right before my father died.
Oh
Mutual
wow.
friend got us together. And then my father died, and then we got together, and we've been together ever since.
There's some, people always talking about that twin flame thing, and I don't know how I feel, but when I hear stories like this, it certainly gives credence to that, because this is significant. She was there for these major turning points in your life, and here she is after, like, from your father on.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say I believe in soulmates, but I mean, I do, and she's mine. Through thick and thin. I mean, we've had our own trials and tribulations, but there
Yeah.
is definitely a reason why we are together. And not just like there has to be some sort of supernatural reason.
Yeah,
Um,
you've crossed paths. Like, I've got real goosebumps going. I love that, the romantic goosebumps.
and I do think that we've been together in past lives for sure. I would 100% believe in everything. Believe that to be true.
And I definitely want to get on that topic later too. So let's move over to your son,
Yes.
and so maybe like around, just tell us about him, and then also tie in the dream experiences you have had.
Okay. Well, my son Abel, was born in 2011. Um, it was a troubled pregnancy. It wasn't at the beginning. It was later. Even though my wife intuitively always knew something wrong with Abel, because she would just they just start crying. Uh, with my previous son Holden, our younger son, well, older son now, say younger at the time, he she was very happy with him, and she was actually somewhat happy with Rainbow Child, my daughter, she was pregnant with, right, Abel had passed away. So Abel, we just knew something was wrong. Like she was in pain, she just never felt well. So around the 34th week, um, she uh, she had we went in for an ultrasound, and Abel wasn't moving in the ultrasound, so they knew something was wrong, but they didn't know what was wrong. And she also had polyhydramnios, which is like when it's a lot of food in your stomach when you're pregnant. So um, he didn't know he was alive because his heart was beating, but he just wasn't moving. So they were like, "Well, we have no idea." Um, and so when he was born, um, I remember my wife had to have a C-section with all three. I remember when he was born, like he didn't cry, and he was born with contracture, like couldn't move. And I just looked at my wife, and just was like, I'm just like, no, don't look at him. And they just took him immediately to the um to the ICU. And I remember meeting the ICU doctor later, and it's hilarious because one of the ICU doctors there was my doctor when I was a kid, and he remembered me.
Oh,
And
wow.
because the ICU had just opened up in Caper Valley, and when they moved me back from Chapel Hill to Caper Valley, he was my doctor, and he was really nice, But the head ICU doctor, he literally told me it was better for my son to die than to live in his trapped body.
Oh, man.
And I was like, okay. So, he goes to Chapel Hill. They're trying to do tests. They're trying to figure out what's wrong. And eventually they do. They send off a muscle biopsy to the Mayo Clinic. One doctor's like, I think I've seen this. And so they come back with the diagnosis of myopathy. Then he spits out the tube. So they send him home. And he starts recovering. Around that time, I was in natural medicine. I didn't know as much as I did now, but I still knew quite a bit. And I was running fixture gut, or at least I started to. And so I started, giving him CoQ10 and magnesium, doing sunlight and light therapy. He started to recover. He started to move around, and he's very expressive, very intelligent. There's definitely he was very smart, and he started to recover. And I was giving him like they were like giving him like food, right, like tube feeding because they were afraid he couldn't swallow because his throat muscles like most children with similar mutations in the family like Jello. So I started playing around with us giving his own formula. They didn't really like that very much, and he started losing weight. But they would tell us that they didn't want him to get too heavy because of his being predisposition to heart failure, and because of most children like have felt their failure to thrive. So his nutritionist kept like threatening us, saying, you're not feeding your son. I'm going to contact CPS. But all the nurses were like behind us, saying, they're taking great care of the child, everything. So eventually I got scared. Biggest regret I've ever had in my life. And I should have told him to go to hell. But I was scared, and so I said, fine, whatever, do what you want. So they started feeding him too much. Started aspirating into his lungs. So he had to keep going to the hospital. They go in the hospital, they reduce his feed, get better. Then he'd go back home. I put him back on his feet. He would aspirate, and I kept telling him that this is what was happening. But they kept saying, no, no, it's his disease. It's getting worse. And I'm like, no, he's aspirating in his damn lungs. Well, eventually, he aspirated one time so bad that, like, he aspirated your lungs, you cough up your stomach content. So one time he did it so bad, like, he stopped breathing. So they had to intubate him and put him on a ventilator. Eventually, through trial and error, it took about 3 to 4 months. Eventually, I finally convinced them, just pleading that was the problem, that he was aspirating. So took him back home, and he started to recover to the point where he was, they were going to take him off the ventilator. His lung function had returned. His heart was perfect, um, and he was very bright, very intelligent, probably like almost a genius intellect. time. He couldn't express himself verbally, but just the way they were measuring his intelligence, like visual cues and reactions and stuff like that, he was extremely bright. And he had a sudden pulmonary embolism because of all the issues that they had with ventilation trauma a couple months past prior to that, and he died. And to this day, I regret it. I regret not standing up for my son. I regret not telling him to go to hell, and he's dead, sadly, because of my cowardice. And I swear never again. And I mean, when I dream about him, he's always happy. He used to blow bubbles and smile, you know. But I'm always just, telling him, it's like, sorry. No, I'm sorry I let you down. And it still eats me up to this day. I mean, I grieved, it wasn't like my dad. I didn't have that much of a great, my health did get bad a little.
Yeah.
It wasn't like and it still bothers me, but I'm able to keep it together, pretty well. Talk about it.
How often do you see him in dreams?
Very rarely. Very rarely.
And so the couple times you have, or the few times, he was doing that bubble smile thing?
He was very happy, yes.
Real cute, yeah. I love that image, by the way. I can see it,
He was extremely happy, and he's happy to see me.
Yeah.
And he knew that I did the best.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel that I probably, but
yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it now.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's incredibly hard to listen to. It's very sad. I do like that he showed up in your dreams to let you know he was all right. And that just seems significant to me. So, all right. And it seems to me, listening to everything so far, that you do have a good interaction with pretty much everyone that's passed that is in your bubble of love, in your family, the grandparents, right?
Yes.
And so, and all of those, and they all seem to be like healthy dreams. Like,
yes, they're never sad.
So this is a question is specifically related to what you do, which is healing, which is health and healing the gut. When you're out of whack, in the times in the past when you've been out of whack, have you seen in your dream life symptoms of that? Have symbols come up to let you know that you're on the verge of having a flare up or anything?
Yeah, I'm perfectly healthy every time.
Okay, all through your life.
All through my life.
Okay, interesting. It's I am too. I wonder. And I had when my mother died, I ended up with Hashimoto's, which is autoimmune,
yes.
And it's triggered by stress events. And I was fine in all my dreams too. And yeah, I ended up in a coma. It was terrible. And yet the whole time my dreams were fine. I'm like, why am I not seeing these symptoms in the dreamscape? When I'm physically going through all this, it's always been a question of mine.
Some people do. I never did.
Yeah, me neither. But I also I come from that, like, your story so far to me, everything I'm hearing sounds triumphant. And so you're not coming from, say, the contrary. And I've always felt that way about myself. So I think that could just be our outlook.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's probably one of the biggest things about it, is that I believe that Earth that we live in is a very, like, dark place.
Mm-hmm.
But my outlook on life and how I handle it, I guess maybe because I have such high dopamine, I don't treat it as such.
Yeah.
I'm very happy-go-lucky, very easily amused. I enjoy things.
Yeah, you seem like you laugh a lot.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that I don't get depressed from time to time. Everybody does, but
yeah, of course.
In general, yeah, I enjoy being jokey, and I enjoy jokes and comedy. Like, for example, movies. I don't watch horror because I can't stand them. But I watch comedy. I watch science fiction and stuff like that. Um,
And you're a member of the Cruisin' with Steak Discord. That means you do laugh, no matter what.
yes, yes.
Those guys.
But one thing is music. Everybody usually resonates with music, and I really didn't until I was 18. I didn't listen to my own music until I was 17 or 18. I just used to listen to my dad listen to Aerosmith and Rush and stuff. I never really cared of listening to music until I been older. But you hear stories about people being deep, have deep affinity to music and stuff like that. Never really had like I do now more like I have bands that I enjoy and music that I enjoy and everything. But like everybody talks about when they're a kid, like my wife, she loved Nirvana when she was like 12 and stuff like that. I didn't even know Nirvana even existed. I mean, it wasn't like my dad kept me from these things. I just didn't care. Um,
I was the
and
exact same way with the music. My friends listened to everything, and I really never picked anything, and I hadn't decided on what I liked yet. But yeah, a lot of people listen to Rush, and I could not stand Rush. Sure. And
yeah, I think
a lot of things I didn't like then, I like now, which is even weirder.
yeah, it's the same thing for me, and I think Jerry and I are like that in a lot of ways, where we kind of we see everybody else listening to things and being disappointed or liking it, and it's hard for us to make a decision on certain that because we don't want to be disappointed ourselves. And I was like that early as a child too. It would be hard for me to want things. And it was the same with music. I just never really. I mean, I liked Aerosmith. I still like Aerosmith. I can see what my dad liked Aerosmith. I see what my dad liked. Foreigner. I do like Rush though, Jerry. Um,
I never
but
liked Rush.
I mean, I don't know. I like people love the Beatles. I can't stand the Beatles. I know that's gonna get me some downvotes, and people are gonna be like, "What the hell?" and stuff like that. But I just the
Oh,
Beatles.
the Beatles are highly overrated.
I never see it. I like the Who way better than the Beatles. It's just weird. Like I just could never see the Beatles so much. I still can't to this day.
I know kids now that don't know who the Beatles are, that are like 20.
Yeah, but makes sense.
It's just bizarre because they were so huge.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't even know who the Beatles really were until I got old. Same with me. Like I knew music my dad listened to, but I mean, even my dad went through his born again Christian phase, and I used to listen to DC Talk and News Boys and stuff like that. Of course, I wouldn't listen now. You can pay me to listen.
Well, so instead of music, what did you get lost in as a child? Like, how people get lost in music. What were you able to, was it video games?
Video games, television shows. I never cared for movies. I still don't to this day. I'll watch occasional movie if I really care. But I've always been, as much as I know, they'll to television's programming and stuff like that. It's one of the
What did you like on television when you were young?
as a kid.
Yeah.
How far back are we going?
As far as you can remember, I like the early stuff from people.
I remember liking Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z and watching stuff with my dad like X-Files and Sliders. I love Sliders so much.
Was that a time travel show?
Yes, it was.
Yes,
it was a
okay.
dimension travel.
Well, dimension travel show, but they also but you can look at time travel too. But yes, it was.
Maybe timelines are other dimensions.
That is possible.
Exactly.
but yeah, I mean, I love science fiction because my dad loved it. I used to watch wrestling a lot as a child because my father liked it. I'd watch it with him. The Simpsons and Family Guy, and I used to watch old Nick at Night shows with my grandparents. So I love Taxi and All in the Family and the Jeffersons.
Oh yeah. That stuff's all good.
I used to watch that with them and enjoy it. And I still watch stuff like Taxi every now and then to this day, believe it. And still find it hilarious.
So I want to get back into I want to get into lucid dreams, which you already gave us. It sounds like pretty much that's kind of your dreaming experience in general. Am I wrong? I mean, it sounded that way to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's always been that way. But I mean, when I really decalcified my pineal gland, it really hit the sunlight and the iodine hard. That's when it was like all the time.
Mm-hmm. So it really was connected to decalcifying your pineal.
I believe so, yeah.
And just for people out there, so you mentioned iodine and sunlight. Is that all you did?
That's all I did. Yes.
I'm a believer in both, of course, especially with Hashimoto's, the iodine.
Yep. And selenium. You want to make sure you take the selenium too to activate.
Oh yeah, magnesium, honey. I'm
Magnesium
on
too as
top.
well.
I'm on top of it. I left allopathic medicine very long ago, and don't take any thyroid like allopathic medicines.
Yeah, but
Like I cured it, and they said you don't cure it.
oh, you can. Well,
I did. I have.
can't use
I'm
the
a
word.
living example.
Okay, I can't use the word cure, but I've known people who have put theirs in remission.
Yeah, that's yeah. I'm also a 10 years, and I'm 20 years into when I got diagnosed, but 10 years I haven't been messing with it. I have flare ups. We all do. If I get stressed, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I still have H. pylori flare-ups if I get stressed enough or adrenaline shocks and stuff like that. But I'm definitely healthy, a lot better. Especially sun. I can't tell you how much grounding and getting sun changed my health.
Vitamin D is important.
Yes, it is. More sunlight endogenous production than supplemental vitamin D. But yes, I agree.
Well, that's when I'm talking about getting it from the source, which is sunlight.
Yes, I mean, there's a reason why human beings, I mean, if we are animals, we love the sun and we worship the sun for so long. It's because it gives us life and it makes us healthy. So that's the problem, is that they're spraying all the chemtrails and messing with the wavelengths.
I know. Well, this is kind of like, and since our show's got this new format of just kind of, it's all mixed in, but what do you think about the 5G stuff that's unrolling now?
I'm scared of it, but there's nothing I can technically do about it.
Well, I know we can't do anything about it, but I think like on a health physical level, our flesh, our organs, and these waves moving through us.
Yeah, I mean, you do whatever you possibly can to combat it. Make sure your mitochondria are at its highest functional capability. Making sure you're drinking clean water. You're getting sunlight. You're getting enough DHEA through seafood ingestion, or if you're vegan, algae. Doing things for mitochondrial health, getting enough magnesium and everything like that. All that's important.
This is good stuff. I like that. I like that we're talking about this stuff, especially for a chat. I mean, this is stuff I do.
Grounding, making sure that you're getting melatonin.
People need to hear this. You've obviously made a career of it.
Yeah. I mean, which is funny because I used to be 100% completely allopathic medicine because my grandfather was a pharmacist. I believe.
Oh dear.
Hook, line, and sinker. Took Accutane as a teenager. That's why I'm balding. And there were times where allopathic medicine saved my life, like when my appendix ruptured or when...
No, it has a place for emergencies and broken bones and all that.
But when
I did what I was supposed to. I was a good girl and listened to them, and then I just kept getting sicker.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, what?
And a lot of people, people in my own family and people that I've coached and everything. And like my son Abel, for example. I mean, he was the only child who didn't have heart failure with his condition, and his heart was great because of me increasing his mitochondrial function. And
that's amazing.
I mean, his geneticist, Dr. Fan, she wanted me to go to Chapel Hill because she was like, "You're amazing with what you do, your knowledge and everything." Like with this published paper on my son Abel, like I'm listed as a knowledgeable expert, like one of the foremost experts in his condition. I even graduated from medical school.
Wow.
So it's just, I've seen it work. No one can tell me it doesn't work. I know it does.
Yeah. I don't need to that's the thing with me. Like I've seen it work too, and so I don't need to necessarily even see in peer reviewed journals what is and what isn't, just because of my own personal experience with recovering from autoimmune stuff.
And I'm not going to say that.
So, and I this is something before, when I knew you were coming on, and I knew that you're a gut health guy, I wanted to get your opinion on how some of these supplements or anything that you have as far as what could connect into better dreaming, better dream recall, and in that kind of experience.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about, of course, our gut microbiome being a third brain or second brain of sorts. And or actually, your brain has a microbiome too, which is the third brain, and your gut is your second brain. Because you actually have a brain, And then you have your second brain, which is your gut microbiome that produces its own neurotransmitters, GABA, dopamine, serotonin, melatonin. And then you have the microbiome in your brain, because your brain is not sterile, that also produces its own neurotransmitters too. So
It's amazing. I just find all that amazing. When I learned that the gut was actually a brain too, that like the neurotransmitters and all this happening, it blew my mind.
yeah, and the microbiome in your brain is also a brain. So then you're like, well, then what part of you is actually me, and what part of me is the organisms?
Yeah, I know. It's a twister.
I do. Okay, first of all, I do believe people have souls. Okay, first off, and I do think there's consciousness separate from our microbiome, but I do think our microbiome can drive it though.
Well, we're going to get into that conversation about consciousness later. So let's just stay on track with this.
But with the dreams, I mean, yeah, you always first and foremost you want to get sun, because sun produces serotonin, which is later methylated into melatonin. For proper methylation, you want to make sure that you're getting your green vegetables, your collards, your kale, your spinach, your broccoli. Get plenty amount of folate, so your methylation is good. B12 from eggs.
So more cruciferous. What is it? Why am I tongue twisting this?
Cruciferous.
Cruciferous. Thank you.
Yes.
More cruciferous than other types of greens, or all just in general?
Just anything that has folate in it. So like your lettuce, your romaine lettuce, your kale, anything green, pretty much is going to have a good amount of folate.
Okay.
So yeah, you wanna make sure that you're getting enough. If you are, if you do have issues with methylation, which Dr. Ben Lynch wrote a great book called Dirty Genes. I recommend anybody listening to read that book. You'll understand more about methylation. But you need methylation to turn serotonin into melatonin, which we know melatonin is a chemical that makes us sleepy. It's also possibly one of the chemicals that are involved with dreaming. DMT possibly be another one. GABA could also be another one, a neurotransmitter that could be involved. Um, so yeah, I mean, you want to make sure that you're making enough melatonin. You also want to make sure that your pineal gland itself can make its own amount of melatonin. So you want to make sure you decalcify it. Fluoride and bromide are able to calcify pineal gland, which would make the pineal gland produce less melatonin. They say it naturally happens as you age. I think that's a bull crap. I think it happens a lot. Like I mentioned, the fluoride that's in drinking water and the toothpaste and in our food. And bromide being in food, like drinking drinks like Mountain Dew and medicine, stuff like that and everything, inhibiting the thyroid and pineal gland. So yeah,
Oh
you want to
dear.
make sure that you're supplementing occasionally with iodine. And you want to make sure that you're eating seafood, which is rich in iodine, or eggs, which is rich in iodine. And I got a blog about iodine on Fix Your Gut. Learn about it. But yeah, I mean, as far as dreaming is concerned, and I guess the final thing is you want to make sure that your gut's happy, because your microbes are making a lot of neurotransmitters both in your brain and in your gut. Now, granted, they say 80% of the serotonin is made by your microbiome, and the majority of making it is in your gut. It's true, but most of it's localized in use in your gut for peristalsis, for bowel movements. Okay, because serotonin is a muscle constrictor. Um, so actually, serotonin most people think is the chemical that makes you feel happy. It's not. Serotonin is the chemical that stabilizes your mood and also turns into melatonin for sleep. Dopamine is actually what makes you happy, and GABA is what makes you feel relaxed. Where glutamate is more for not glutamate. Glutamate, should I say, is more for being ready and attentiveness and memory cognition, um, and everything. So trying to get those neurotransmitters in balance through proper diet, like perfect health diet for some, or for others it may be ketogenic diet like bulletproof, and
Yeah, I like that.
proper amounts of sun, making sure that you're getting proper amounts, of sleep. Your sleep hygiene is good, limiting blue light. Make sure you get enough iodine. All those would be proper for to improve your immunity.
What do you think about insulin resistance and all of that as it's tying into this conversation?
It's definitely going to hinder your gut. It's going to hinder the brain's ability to use insulin properly, which could cause dream issues, as well as cognition issues too. I mean, we pretty much have theorized that type 3 diabetes is the brain's ability to not use insulin properly, which is Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah. And where do you stand on intermittent fasting?
I think it'd be beneficial for some people. For some people, it cannot. It really depends on their body type. For example, for me, I am a type of person who does not do very well with fasting. I haven't in years. And that may be because of my ketchup methyltransferase mutation and me having more amounts of dopamine and epinephrine in me. So the longer I fast, the more epinephrine is being produced, which is harder for me to break down. So fasting generally does not make me feel very well. It makes me feel cranky, and or if I eat carbs, which according to my blood glucose meter, I'm not talking about eating muffins or anything like that. I'm talking about eating like jasmine rice or potatoes or stuff.
Yeah.
Or blueberries, I don't get a spike. My body's able to handle it. So, yeah, I just it depends on the person. Like, like bulletproof diet could work very well with someone if done properly, or the next person who could do it can make them very sick. And vice versa. Someone who follows a perfect health diet, which is a more carbohydrate friendly diet, about 100 to 150 grams a day. For some people, that could be a lifesaver. For someone else, it could make them ill. There's no set perfect diet for anybody. We're all differently genetically, and our microbiomes are different. And so, what may work for one person may not work for another person.
This is such a key thing, and I'm such a believer in that it is in the end about your individual body type.
Yes.
That includes your blood and all that, and that one thing doesn't work for everyone.
Yes, I mean I remember working on the bulletproof diet years ago, being on the forums and women getting on there and going, not doing ketosis properly because Dave never talked about women needing to do ketosis differently than men biologically, and them not, refeeding, or if they did, it would be too long. It'd be like 7 to 10 days, and women just having horrible hormonal problems because of it, like severe periods or their periods even stopping, and because women have some women, not all have a higher uh, need of carbohydrates for greater thyroid function, for greater hormonal function. So some women might need to refeed if they're doing a ketogenic diet every 3 to 5 days, which makes sense anthropologically. Men mainly went on the hunt, so testosterone usually protects us a lot from cortisol and from the needing of refeeding and stuff like that. Where women, progesterone and estrogen, which has its own uh, importance in the body. For example, women get sick less often generally, but they do get stronger autoimmune conditions because estrogen does modulate the immune system. But it's old colloquialism that when men get sick like the flu, we'll be in bed, dying from like a cold. Women will actually be out working and doing stuff and everything like that, and they'll look at us like we're pussies. And there might be something to do with it. It might be because estrogen is more modulating the immune system. So it's the same with fasting. Fasting, men might be able to do it biologically easier and have less of a more bad effect on the body compared to women.
This is I like my carbs, but I don't do a lot, but I do that. I do them. And this was very good. I'm glad to hear all this. By the way, your wealth.
Someone asked in the chats, there was a question I wanted to ask that I wanted to answer. Oh, cheese. Cheese is an opioid peptide. Casein is. So just like a lot of people talk about taking opioids like painkillers and tripping balls when they dream, it would be the same for some people that casein might cause some sort of opioid reaction in their brain. Other opioid peptides would be gluten, like eating a croissant before bed, or Avenid, which is an oat. Any of those opioid peptides can cause crazy vivid dreams, similar to taking opioid painkillers. Milk of the poppy. Opium.
Yes, milk of the poppy.
So they'd work the same way in the brain, triggering dopamine releases, which could trigger very vivid dreams.
I wonder if that's my power, because I am a cheese lover and I am an active dreamer. Okay, so on your lucidity dreams, can you just give us so all this now, we have all this swelling around us. Tell us about how and I want to know in specific about the dreams where you actually felt like you could control them. You already gave us the ones where you're lucid, you're awake in them, but you couldn't activate the dream powers. Do you have dreams where you can, where you do fly or you do walk through stuff? None at all?
Well, I do, but all that. Okay, now let me take that back. I do, but it's all it happens the moment I have lucidity of it. It does not. It only doesn't happen when I need it to happen. Like I'll start a dream where I'm flying, and I can fly.
Yeah.
But it's the moment I land on the ground,
Right.
and then if I need to fly later, I can't do it.
That's so strange. I've not, especially in a state of being aware that you're dreaming. That is just so
I'm
strange to
always
me.
where I'm dreaming.
Yeah,
It's like it's like
I
my
find
brain.
this interesting. I've not quite heard this before.
It's like my brain disconnects. Like I'll know like I'm in a dream. I gotta fire my gun, and I'll be yelling at the gun to fire, like my brain will, and it just will not do it.
Well, what I'm thinking is, it's all of a sudden you're so awake, you're actually applying waking life rules and structures within there. Like, you can't fly, although if you need to shoot a gun, you can in waking life. It's very strange.
I mean,
I'm intrigued by it.
I mean, it's the same you tell about this. I've never heard anybody talk about that, but it's always been that way for me. I always called it like failure, failure to launch syndrome, but in my dreams. Maybe my doubts and my fears manifest itself that by feeling of inadequacy. Maybe it manifests itself in that way. That I it never. It's like in life, things usually go right when I need them to, but in my dreams they never do. Is that weird? I don't know. Like, is it weird that like in my life, if I need to start my car and I can't get it to start, if I pray and manifest it, it'll start. In my dreams, if I'm running away from somebody and need to start a car, I never can, and I don't quite know why that is. I mean, Jerry, have you come across anything like that ever? Or...
I have not. No.
So in your dreams, if you need to start a car, you can. Or if you need to shoot a gun, you can.
Yeah, the only thing I can't do in my dreams is scream. It seems.
No, I can scream
But
in my
see,
dream.
Yeah.
this isn't strange to me. What's strange is that you're actually lucid and you can't get the
Yeah,
stuff to go.
like I know I'm dreaming. Like I know, like mostly every time I dream, I know I'm dreaming, and I'm just like, oh, this is like a movie. Okay, I'm watching myself dream. This is fun, you know. And then yeah, like I'll be like, I need to shoot a gun, and I've always been able to wake up out of a dream. Some people say they can't wake out of dreams. Me, it's instant. If I gotta wake up, like if something scares me or whatever, or I just don't feel like something's right, I can immediately wake up.
Do you have sleep paralysis at all?
When trying to fall asleep, sometimes yes, I have monoclonic jerks.
Oh, see, I love you coming with this technical here. So, will you describe the experiences
Yeah,
you have in these?
I'll
And your
try to
jerks.
or I'll
Yeah.
try. I'll try to. I'll be falling asleep, and then I'll feel like someone's calling like someone calling my name or something. And I'll just jerk. I'll jerk. I'll jerk awake.
But you're calling that paralysis?
No, I'm just saying calling them monoclonic jerks.
Yeah.
I don't usually have sleep paralysis where I'm waking. Okay. I've had it, but it's extraordinarily rare. It's really
And
rare.
so, but when you're okay, so in the rare experiences when you do have it, is there a sense of a presence in the room, or are you
Like a
just
hag attack?
completely, yeah, maybe like hag riding, or are you just paralyzed and you're just not fully in your body, or however all this stuff works?
I have in the past, yes. It's very rare where I wake up and I feel like there's another entity. Like I feel that way just in waking life. It's like I've
Oh,
always looked at it.
okay.
It's
We
like I've
want to
always
get into that.
It's like I've always looked at it this way, where my dreams have always been my reward, where I get to just relax. And it's the only time I can relax, and I can't relax any other time than then. So I know that's a weird way of looking at it, but I've always felt.
Yeah, I can't wait always to get back to my dreaming. I love it. So, man, so much good stuff here. So, I guess let's just get into some of this other the woo, even though you've brought it, but where do you think consciousness is, and where is it?
isn't everybody in the world searching for that answer?
Yeah, but there's lots of scientific research that feels very convicted in
Plus, we're looking for
in
opinion.
their conclusions.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, we're just wanting your gut reaction here, and then also you do have this whole medical background, so I'm expecting that there's some of that you already mentioned.
I think that we're just an amalgam of whatever the spirit is, source of energy that brings us consciousness, in combination with our brain, our physical body itself, in combination with the microbes that live in our body, and it's always like a trinity bouncing off of one another. And I don't think that when we die, that's it. I believe that we're like reincarnated back into this plane of existence, that we live in hell. And
You think this is hell?
oh God, yes, this could never be anything else other than. And I know that hell, in the Bible was the Romans' way of looking at it. In the Greeks it was Hades, and Jews is actually Gehenna, which is a trash dump where the worshippers of Baal.
Well, I thought the Hebrews did show.
Well, they believed in Gehenna by the New Testament. When Yeshua talks about hell, he's actually talking about Gehenna, which was a trash dump outside of Jerusalem where worshippers of Baal sacrificed children.
I was thinking of like Guyana, where Idi Amin's from.
But yeah, I mean, but yeah, I do believe in reincarnation. I believe that I've been on this earth many times and will be in this earth many times in the future. I also believe in a possibility, and I have dreamed about it before, that I might have some Atlantean DNA in.
Can you give us some of the dream imagery around that?
I mean,
you recall?
I mean, I've recalled being at Atlantis. Yes.
What made you know that it was Atlantis? Like, what were you seeing? What was going on?
It wasn't like a signpost that just told me. It's just how I felt. Like I always knew.
I mean, that's what I'm trying to get at. Well, how did you know, though? You just knew.
Just knew. I mean, that's what happens. Like people talk about when they come across the Akashic records and everything like that. I almost think that's how my brain is when someone gives me a piece of information in my dreams. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm tapping into. Intuitive. Mm-hmm. So it's the same with that. I just knew it was Atlantis, and I knew that I've been here.
What was the imagery?
The area that I was in was a port town off the Atlantic Ocean, and it was very beautiful. It was very modern. The houses and the buildings weren't made out of like wood, or like you normally see now, or vinyl siding or anything like that. They were made out of some weird looking kind of like clay, whitish colored stone. But they were very modern and very like there was technology everywhere. And it was a lot of it, the technology was different today, but I could tell. Like somehow I knew that the technology ran off of quartz crystals. And there were a lot of people who had decided to be transhumanist, and there was a sect of Atlantis who decided not to be. And that's really, and I have this dream from time to time. It's never the cataclysmic dream of Atlantis being destroyed or anything like that. It's just me walking around and just observing things.
You need to talk to Jay Parker sometime. He is
name sounds familiar.
He's into SRA and exposing all that crap in from Delaware, the Arden, Delaware is where he's from, which is like a whole Satanist town apparently. Anyway, he claims his parents are dark sorcerers from Atlantis.
Yeah, Jay Parker did. Yeah. He was on a higher side. I think he was.
A few times, yeah.
Yeah. I would love to talk with him, but I do have some actual problems with his actual story. Like, there's a few things that don't line up with my own personal beliefs. But
that's all good. I was looking at the Atlantis connection.
Yeah. I'm not going to say that he didn't go through all that, because I never want to take away from someone's experience. It's just there's some things that I just it doesn't jive with.
And that's cool. My thought was that maybe if he really does have Atlantean bloodline, maybe he's got some energy that'll wake you up or something. I don't know.
It'd be worth trying to talk with him. Yeah. I mean, he says it's a fascist state. I remember him talking about that on the podcast, which it was later. It wasn't initially. Initially, it became a transhumanist state. That was the downfall of Atlantis. Was embracing transhumanism, but the downfall of Lemuria was embracing the left-hand path. So in downfall of Mu was just war. I mean, Mu is the Earth civilization. Colonization war was the downfall of modern, modern and ancient man.
But how do we know this?
I don't technically know this. It's just everything that's come to me through dreaming and what I read. It just feels right to me. I think. Now, is it complete? Could it be 100% wrong? Yes. It's not like I know any. It's just things that I've intuitively picked up and what I believe to be true. And if you say you don't believe it, I go, okay, that's not. I'm not going to disagree with you.
I think there's too much. Again, they're just stories, but there's too many stories about Atlantis and Lemuria for it not to be representative of something. What that something is, I don't know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, where do you think we got the name Atlanta from? Where do you think we got the name Atlantic Ocean from?
Sure. But I mean, like the Orion War, the story of the Orion Wars, and Mars getting blown up by the Pleiadians. I forget.
How about that? Well, I don't think it was the Pleiadians.
Whatever it is, you know what I'm saying. All those stories and all these wars and all these people are part of the story. Like some people are part of it, small percentage of people, right? And they have dreams about it, and they're in contact with beings who were part of it or had incarnation. There's like this enormous backstory to the universe that a lot of us are excluded from. So does it make that real or less real?
I don't know.
I know. I mean, Atlantis is in the same category for me.
Like logically, I'd like to say that more than likely these are all dreams and it's not true, but the intuitive side of me thinks it is true. So I don't know. That's why I'm not 100% being like, yeah, I used to be a reincarnated Atlantean, because I don't know. Do I feel like I was by intuition and my dreams and stuff? Yeah, I do think that I was, but it could be some bullcrap.
What if these dreams and memories or intuitions of of these places anchors the energy and keeps them in existence? That it's the memory of it that, in the past that keeps it alive. And if no one can remember it, did it ever exist?
So we're talking about Day of the Dead?
No,
ancestors, they don't exist anymore type.
No, think about like Atlantis, right? If no one ever brought up Atlantis for 1,000 years, no one ever heard of it, do you think it would just cease to have ever existed? Would it just go away?
Possibly, but I do believe in collective consciousness, which would override that.
Okay, what if the collective forgot it?
I just don't see how that'd be impossible.
Okay.
And what if there's?
I'm not suggesting. I'm just curious.
And what if the Akashic records exist and there was a record of all history and all knowledge?
I heard that they've been compromised.
I'm pretty sure they have. Everything's been compromised.
But there's an actual copy that's out of phase somewhere, locked up.
Everything's compromised. Everything's co-opted. It wouldn't surprise me if somehow the Jesuits got the Akashic records.
They got hold of everything.
and changed some things.
They took the Akashic records hostage. It's in the basement of the Vatican now.
Yeah.
That would be perfect place that's the perfect place for the Akashic records to be, by the way.
But that's just how my logic, I think it's a possibility that I was Atlantean and that from there that maybe if I was Atlantean that I did come from Mars and Mars was blown up and the asteroid belt there was another planet, should I say, it was Tiamat. And that it was, where the asteroid belt was blown up.
Right. That's what I meant. Not Mars got blown up.
Right. But yeah, is it a possibility that I was once originally from there? And I don't think the Pleiadians did it, though. To my knowledge, I thought the Pleiadians were I hate using this term; it's not necessarily correct. More of a right-hand path alien race compared to the reptilians and the Greys.
And I think they're half and half. They're like they're a half-calf kind of culture.
So you think they're like us then?
No, we're all bad. It was God, I'll look it up. I'm pretty sure it was Pleiadians.
Yeah. But yeah, I go back and forth all the time whether or not any of this stuff is what I truly believe or not because it's nothing I've seen right in front of my face. I'm like Mulder. I want to believe. I want to believe this is all true. I don't really don't. So
But you believe in reincarnation.
99.9% sure, yes, that it's real, but there's also 0.01% chance that it might not be. This might be the only life I ever get, and I'm dead. I mean, my heart of hearts, I don't think that's true, but it's just
Yeah.
like how I look at flat Earth. I've never been to space. I don't know. Like 99.9% of me believes Earth is round, but there is a possibility since I've never been to space and seen it for myself, it could be flat. Could be
Yeah,
cute.
and that just sounds healthy to me to keep that's agnostic, right? Where you're just open to it.
Yeah, I mean, like I do believe in Yeshua and I do believe in the Creator, um, but there's still a part of me that says that it may not be true. But I mean, everybody has doubt. I mean, that's just what it is. What's having faith is just having belief that counteracts, um, strong amount of doubt. We all have doubt. Even Yeshua had doubt on the cross before he died. Lord, why have you forsaken? And if you look at it in a Gnostic way of how I look at it, first, you know, Yeshua was the physical manifestation of the Creator, and actually Yeshua's spirit or the Holy Ghost was laughing on the side being crucified. Um, but yeah, it's weird. Like even with the conspiracy thing, there could be 99.9% that I'm wrong about what I believe conspiracy wise. You know, I guess the only thing maybe I'm 100% sure on is naturopathic medicine. But even then, I've known it to fail people.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nothing's invaluable. I mean,
What
that's
do you
why.
think?
No, no, go ahead, Nish.
What do you think? So on all this, though, too, what do you think then death is? So as we tie into like reincarnation and all this other
I just
stuff.
think it's a transition period. I mean, it's a possibility it could be final. I do believe in the annihilation of the end. I mean, that's how you correct the darkness. But I don't think that annihilation's happened yet. So I don't think when I die this time, yet.
Would you elaborate on that annihilation bit?
The lake of fire. You have to cast the darkness into annihilation. Like my way of looking at the creator is all knowing, but the creator is not all powerful. Which is why darkness exists, or Yabadayo. So most Christians will look at it as kind of like a God as a father, teaching the child, and he lets bad things happen to us um, because of you want your child to learn, child to suffer. But I mean, of course, to me, it seemed like Jehovah, the creator of humans, look at us to want that. He's a jealous God. But I don't think the creator. I think he has to live by the laws of his own creation, and that's why you know when you talk about the Bible and you see miracles that happen all the time, you know, have you guys ever seen the movie Risk Cutters? I know I'm going all over the place, but it is relevant.
I have not.
Not me.
Okay, it's excellent. It's an excellent movie. I recommend you guys see it. Um, the actor, I think his real name is Patrick. He dies. He commits suicide. He goes to an incarnation of Earth where it's just more depressing. It's more sad, depressed, and can't smile. Just like a lower plane of existence. And Tom Waits is actually the man in charge there. He's an angel. I love Tom Waits. I love Tom Waits' music. He's a great actor in the movie. I do recommend anybody's watching it. But I have a kind of a way of looking at that, where um, there's different planes of existence. There's higher and lower planes. Earth is probably somewhere, this universe's existence, third dimension, somewhere probably smack somewhere closer to lower realms. Um, But yeah, it's just I don't know. And I guess maybe I've lost where I was going.
Well,
But
death. We were.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I believe in reincarnation. I believe that one day, um, all souls who walk with light be won't have to go through suffering anymore. Now, when that day is, I don't. I know
Well, what do
that
you think the point of all this, our waking life drama, the drama of life and living is?
to gain gnosis, to gain wisdom.
I can back up to that for sure. That's what it feels like to me, at least.
to overcome suffering. I mean, how do you overcome suffering? Gain wisdom, learn. It doesn't work all the time, but it is what makes you a better person. And there is also a little bit of a karmic aspect too. You don't want to do harm to other people intentionally. But
It's like this, and definitely the way you're saying it too. It just makes me think of like an awakening, right? Which also
yes,
ties into the whole dream thing. Awakening within the dream. Is this not a dream also, in a sense?
well, some people say getting wisdom at all costs. Like some people, left hand path say gaining wisdom by any cost is worth it. I mean, to some degree, I can see that, but I mean, when it comes to really dark means of gaining wisdom, I just don't think it's. I mean, that's why the Tower of Babel fell, why Atlantis fell, why Lemuria fell, is because they tried to gain wisdom that would have. You guys ever seen the movie Dogma? Kevin Smith.
Yes.
Remember when Bartleby and Loki tried to cross the arches, um, and which would have rendered existence moot because God, the creator, would have been a liar. Uh, Excellent movie, by the way. I love all Kevin Smith's movies. But yeah, I almost wonder if it's like that. I wonder. I don't know. I don't know. I wonder if that's what we go for, is to try to learn and try to better ourselves and better our soul, temper our spirit, so that we can ascend. So we don't have to necessarily reincarnate in these lower planes of existence throughout history, because the archons, whether they're real or not, Jerry would argue they're just manifestations of believe
To some degree, maybe. Like
they
heaven and
definitely
hell? Yeah, totally.
they definitely want us here, and they definitely want us to not learn and not help and not ascend to light. So I don't know.
Can you go into your idea of the archons and all that a little bit?
Yeah, I look at it a little bit differently than the standard Gnostic text, where I do believe in Yaldabaoth, but I don't look at Yaldabaoth as being Jehovah. I look at Jehovah being separate, and I look at Jehovah being with Sophia as his bridegroom, where other archons are mainly the the gods that um, people worship through ancient time. Keeping strictly keeping strictly like Judeo would be like Baal and Moloch, stuff like that. I would consider them to be archons as well, lesser gods to the ultimate creator, who has both a male and a feminine side. It's like with the darkness, you have the light. With the light, you have the creator of all things, benevolent creator who's all knowing, but not all powerful. And you have the darkness from that, which is Yaldabaoth, which is the ultimate manifestation. I hate using the term evil, but it's just two conflicting paradigms. And then from there, you have lesser archons. You have Jehovah and Sophia, who made Earth, made the Garden of Eden, made humanity, um, and who broke off from the rest of the archons. And then you have like Abaddon, Moloch, and Baal, that these people that could just be gods that they had worshipped to gave manifestation topas that are archons, or they could actually be archons or lesser gods that control this plane of existence. Which I know that most Gnostics would argue with me 100% my beliefs. But I do believe that the Creator has manifested Himself and herself throughout history, different figures, um, and there's many different religions that have different snippets of truth, which I know a lot of people, disagree with me on that too. I have, I guess, a weird way of looking at my cosmology, but that's just what I feel like to be true. for example, um, you guys are aware of like the Armenians. They were actually the first group of people to convert to Christianity, and they believe that their hero Hayek, which is similar to Hercules, killed Nimrod and his army of Nephilim, and brought about the Atlantean cataclysm. Um, so there's a bunch of different how different tie-ins, relate to it. You know, um, I think the creator has manifested himself as both Mary Magdalene and Yeshua in the Bible. Buddha, Melchizedek.
So he
Zoroaster,
can be his own twin flame.
in a way that yes.
What do you think about the whole so it's coming from my perspective a little bit, but the goddess idea of that we see in Revelation through the Scarlet Woman, through Babylon, and all that. Just curious about your thoughts. I know that's kind of really open ended and vague, but how do you see? Because the female principal is painted in such a harsh light, I think, and
Well,
so I'm
yeah. I mean,
curious.
with Yabadiah, if you had Lilith, so you had the male and the female, just like you had the male and the female with the creator too. The bride and the bridegroom for both sides.
Yeah, but so right, but Lilith becomes this great destroyer. Babylon, Miss the Babylon, the woman, um, and as Jezebel's a part of that whole thing. Also, it's just so darkly cast, right? Um, so I'm just curious on your take on that.
You mean
Yeah.
like goddesses or women and how they're portrayed in the Bible, or
Well, it's a female principle. So yeah, goddess. I mean, I view that I don't necessarily have to move into language that's like gods or goddesses.
you mean like divine masculinity and toxic masculinity and divine femininity and toxic femininity?
Yeah, but strike the toxic part. So, like, if you're looking at the female principle in the Bible or in some of the early more Judeo.
But it wasn't that way in the Gnostic texts.
No, in the earlier text, it's different. We see what happened, but it's so we're. But a lot of people aren't accessing that earlier stuff. It's coming up now. There's lots of great material on it and scholars all over this. But I'm just asking your opinion of since we were talking about it. You mentioned Babel and all that, and so I'm in particularly just thinking about in general lately. Though I'm thinking about Babylon, the female idea. She who is, you know, she's of the sun, she's seated on the moon, she's got the zodiac above her, she's going to bear the scarlet child, this whole thing. And that also plays into the whole Tiamat myth, where Tiamat turns into this devourer after she's, and they have to appease, they dismember her and they have to appease her with keeping her drunk, so that she might not come back and find all her pieces and destroy everything.
Well, all it is just it's the dark of the bridegroom bride aspect, the duality of male female. That's all it is the dark aspect of it. You see the positive, you see the ultimate enlightenment with Mary Magdalene and Yeshua.
Yeah, but it seems like that Mary Magdalene is kind of like they've taken her. I love all forms of the divine feminine. I have my whole life, but and I love the Marys. I love them, all of them that create the one. But she seems less tame. She's less scary. She's less wanton.
She's less aggressive. She's watered down by the Christians.
Yes,
yeah,
thank
but
you,
if you look
Jerry.
at the Gnostic text, that's not how it is, though. See, the way I look at it is I look at it as a complete set, even though I do throw Paul's Gospels out of they should even be in the Bible. I think Paul was a deceiver. But I think when you read the Gnostic texts and how they revere Mary, not all of them did, you get more of a complete picture of the whole, the divine of the bride and bride. You're asking me, how do I feel, I guess, about how the Bible can do negative annotations of femininity in the bride. I mean, yeah, I mean, it just depends on who wrote it. Is that what you're asking me, Nish? I'm confused.
Yeah, and I'm looking at, since we were talking about, I don't know why, I don't know how I got there, and maybe I just got there in my head. It felt like there was a little bit, we're talking about John's stuff, the revelation of John and all that. And I think it's because of bringing in Babylon, and I can't help but make that association.
I mean, if you're talking about Ishtar, I mean, it's been told, Lilith. It's been told throughout history. I mean, you're always. I believe in. I believe strong in duality because it's very strong with synchronicity.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like two paths, the right hand path and left hand path. So
Yes.
you're gonna have the divine aspects of the male and female, and you're gonna have dark aspects of the male and
Yeah.
the creator and the destroyer. You're going to have SX in both. Now, why does the Bible that we have that was put together by the Catholic Church focus primarily on the destroyer aspect of femininity? I don't know. I mean, Peter was a misogynist, so I mean,
well, and it's
they are
the
a
time.
death cult,
Yeah, thank you. What do you think about the whole end time stuff then, since you have a grasp of all this?
it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. Yeshua himself said no one knows the time or the hour. I don't.
How do we know it hasn't happened already?
Excellent question. It may have already happened. Actually, I take that back. It's already happened before many times throughout cycle history. I just don't know when it's going to happen again this time. That's the correct answer.
Probably now. Probably soon.
But do you think we're in some sort of do you think we're in these times?
Or some in final turning? Eventually, yeah, it has to be some sort.
Have we entered the tribulation period yet?
I don't know. That's not a.
I know.
I don't make those.
Well, it's because I like you've got a Christian slant to you, so I'm just enjoying getting some of this.
It's weird to meet a Gnostic Christian, isn't it? It's really weird.
No, it's not. There's a whole movement out there. It's just that we don't tend to have a lot on Nox Mente. So for whatever, it's not intentional. It's just, so it's fun for me.
Dice.
Like, I believe.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe, like you said, I believe in positive manifestations of the bride and bridegroom and negative manifestations of the bride and bridegroom. I believe in positive manifestations of the creator or the light, just like I think there's negative manifestations of the darkness.
What do you, so,
there's duality everywhere. Everything's got two sides.
You have Yeshua and you have L. Ron Hubbard. What, were people going to think I was going to say Crowley? Crowley was just a hedonist.
I love L. Ron really had something going on.
Oh yeah, he did. He definitely L. Ron definitely was a reincarnation of Yalbadayo, for sure. There's the darkness. There's no doubt about it.
Well, what do you think about all the? We're talking L. Ron now. So, what do you think about? And we were alluding to it earlier. There's a little bit of chatter.
Why is Jack Parsons still on our minds? That's what.
Yes. Oh, good one.
Parsons was in bed with L. Ron and with Crowley.
I know it just keeps coming up and up and up lately.
You get rockets and sex magic, and L. Ron saying that he was the reincarnation of Yalbadayo, and I mean, you get all that.
Right. And Parsons was Topan.
Yeah. You get phallic objects and vaginas and sex and
cup and chalice.
Yeah, I mean, you get all that. So I mean, that's what you get. See, that's the difference is me being a right-hand path person. I find that all despicable, and Elron and all the rest of them should have gotten broke. They should have been wrong.
It depends on what they're doing. What they were really doing.
When they were trying to incarnate Yabadayo into Elron, into himself, and bringing about an I hate using the word anti-Yeshua, but the darkness, trying to bring the darkness into this world.
That was the portal thing they were doing out in
Babylon Rising. Yes.
Okay.
Now, some people will say, if you believe Elrond, they'll say he was just trying to break the Archon order and trying to enlighten humanity. Well, I hate to tell you, but when you're doing ritual sex magic with like children, and doing like horrible things, I seriously seriously doubt that's going to bring anything light into existence. Just
You totally reminded me about Crowley. Someone was talking about Crowley, his references to sacrificing children in his books, and I've heard it said that he meant masturbation by that.
Well, I really think Crowley was just a hedonist. It's like everybody says Crowley's the most evilest person. I would argue that L. Ron Hubbard and Albert Allen.
They never met Dick Cheney.
It's like Hitler and Himmler. Himmler was way more evil than Hitler. So we're talking about like runs in the darkness, drives in the darkness. It's these people. So when they're doing these rituals, I don't want any part of it, and they are the closest to me. Like a Satanist that just walks around and just thinks it's God and they're an atheist, they're not my enemy. The people on the left-hand path sacrificing children and partaking in blood and doing everything that is against even, yeah, that's something that they are right.
So where do you put Luciferians on that scale?
It all depends on what they're doing. It all depends if they're. It depends on how they're trying to bring gnosis and how they're trying to bring it to light.
Gotcha.
If they're walking in the ultimate darkness and they're bringing suffering and trauma to breed their form of enlightenment, I don't want it, and I don't think no good comes from it. I mean, it's harsh, but I mean, I don't like as a Gnostic Christian, I don't think, for example, that a Muslim is going to hell or they're on the left-hand path or any nonsense like that. Okay, I even think your average atheist Satanist, like your LaVey Satanist, is on the technical left-hand path in my mind. I look at the left-hand path as practicing darkness in its ultimate forms and trying to manifest itself as such. That's all. Not being a rebel or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because LaVey Satanists are atheists. That's what they. I mean, they make that pretty clear.
I do think LaVey himself, though, was practicing the left-hand path. Though he was the people that were in his flock. A lot of them were just, they didn't know any better. They were just rebels who wanted to be atheists. I think LaVey himself was practicing some of the left path.
So I don't think it matters what path you're on. It's the type of energy you use for your This is my belief.
Yeah, and
if you use a low vibrational energy to power your work, your operations, then that's not good.
But that's another way of looking at it. I mean, you're just looking at it the same way I'm looking at it. If you use if you use antimatter to create existence or gnosis, then it ain't worth it. So if you use the darkness, if you use the antithesis, then I don't care. To me, it's not worth it in any shape or form.
And I bet you, like in Monsters, Inc., the better good stuff is 10 times better than.
Yeah.
You know, scaring people is not as good as making them laugh, right?
Very much so.
Yeah.
And that's how I look at it. And I know that a lot of people on the left-hand path will give me shit, but you know what? Screw it. So I'm not talking about people that are atheists or people that are LaVey Satanists. I'm talking about people that are ritually sacrificing children, drinking blood, destroying innocence, doing everything they possibly can that's profane and dark. I'm not talking about like having sex or that, or even general sex magic or anything like that. As long as it's between two
right.
adults, I don't care.
So how widespread do you think that type of abuse is? I mean, I know the stories. We listen to the same shit. So, you know, I tend to think it's not as bad as everyone thinks it is, but it still goes on.
I think through different parts of history, it's waxed and waned, and through different civilizations. I think at their apex of their fall, it's always high.
The things that correlate are, you know, circumstantial at best, but the number of children that disappear in a year in the United States is astronomical. I've heard estimates up to 1 million. And that's just here.
But that's not people disappearing. Most of the time, those reports of the 1 million are just like kids. Like
this, I heard this from somebody. Unreliable.
No, it's through NECMEC. NECMEC says 600,000 to 1 million, but that could just be someone like running away from home and being returned. They never tell you that. But my question to you is, and my question to anybody who advocates and doesn't think the satanic abuse is real, and I hate using the word satanic.
I didn't say that. Just clarify.
I know. I didn't mean to use the word satanic abuse either, but that's wrong. Using, I guess, ritual child abuse.
Ritual child abuse, yeah.
Sacrifice. One's too many. One is too many.
Yeah.
No question. That was, you know what I was getting at though. Like,
I know, and I didn't want to use the word Satan either because that's
Just
But
gives it
when
more
you say
power.
this, it brings up like the idea of also the alien abductions. Like when you talk about the missing people from the forest and all this, where do you stand on all that kind of stuff?
I mean, some of it's probably alien abduction. Some of it's probably people being dragged into other dimensions by demons,
No military?
jinn, or spirits. Could be military abductions. It could be, run the gamut. I mean, we know aliens. For example, there's some aliens that tend to be more on the dark side, like the Greys and reptilians, stuff like that. So yeah, it would just depend on where they stand.
A lot of times it seems that the experience is what the people, a lot of it involves their preconceived notions about what it should be like, you know. If all you've heard is horror stories about alien abductions and anal probing, you're going to expect to be anally probed by an alien, and you probably will get that. But if you never had any bad experiences or heard that, you might have a good experience. I think that explains a lot of the variation in experiences that people do have with these things.
Yeah, I was never really anally probed, to my knowledge. I hope. I've been anally probed by a doctor. It's called
yeah, me too.
digital.
It's called a digital rectal exam.
And a prostate exam. I've had one of those too. But yeah, never
and
by
there's
aliens,
nothing digital about it except his finger is a digit.
I mean, sometimes I do get scared. Sometimes I do get scared because I live next to a river and I walk, in the dark to my house, in the backyard from my work shed.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I am a little bit afraid that somebody's watching me, or Bigfoot's going to interdimensionally come out of nowhere and take me.
He would psychically attack you first.
Okay, that sounds like. Yeah. So hopefully he doesn't put it in me.
I think usually, from what I've read and heard, you got to go near it. It doesn't really stalk people. Although some people do have them come to their backyard and they feed them. I don't know.
And my son is obsessed with Bigfoot and with aliens too. So
good for him.
It's funny. I guess it rubs off. He's trying to impress me.
Let me talk to him. I'll tell him it's all fake.
Oh, don't. He still believes in the Easter Bunny, Jerry.
So,
okay, let him alone.
Going back to your abduction experiences, were they beneficial in any way, or allow you to get past certain things? I mean, I'm trying to figure out why that happened. Was your dad in the military at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
My family was in the military. Well, my grandfather was in World War II, but he was drafted.
Yeah.
He didn't hate them. He hated being in the military. He loved the troops. But no, none of my family has any CIA background, any military background of any kind.
And none of your stuff left any physical marks, right?
No.
So I would put that more in like an astral experience or a lucid experience. Not saying it didn't happen and not that you didn't meet aliens, but it seems that there's definitely those types of abductions versus physical ones where...
I feel like whoever abducted me was not at my level.
Yeah, that's generally, that's like most of the cases are benevolent beings. And what I've heard and what people talk about happening is that after you're visited by these beings, somehow the government can track them, and that's when they'll send to my lab in to anal probe you in an alien mask, or they'll drug you up and give you a false memory or whatever.
Yeah, that never happened to me. So
it's good. No, it's good.
Sometimes I like to believe that maybe it never happened. But I ran into a good personal friend of mine who had the same issue. Who's actually part of this. He had the same thing, night and everything. Last night to the day. Yeah.
But your dad had them too, and that
yes.
is in line with the whole it follows families, abductions follows families, the Whitley Strieber type of thing.
My father 100% believed he was, and I believe that he.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I believe that everyone experiences this, but I have no idea what it means. I don't think they're from outer space, that's for sure.
And I don't know what it means, and I don't even know if it's part of me wants to doubt it. It's happened to me. Now, I can only go on what I remember.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's real or not, though. You have that experience now. It's in you, and it's part of you. Yeah.
I don't know.
Would it change your outlook on life if you knew it was real?
I don't know. I always thought, if I finally get to know that everything I know about conspiracies and stuff, I'd meet an agent who's got a gun, and I'll probably smile like, accept that it's finally not batshit crazy. You know, I mean, I always figured out, you know, are you gonna kill me now? Okay, well, at least I know that. See you around again. You know.
I'd be like, I'm gonna haunt you, motherfucker. I hope you like ghosts.
I don't know. Like, I go back and forth. I mean, it's the logical, intuitive. Like, I'm very intuitive, but I'm also very logical. You know, it's always a constant battle.
Yeah, I'm not looking for a right answer. I'm just discussing.
Oh, I know. And is there a right answer?
No. Well, I don't know.
And it is a subjective between every person. You know, I mean, I don't believe 100% is 100% objective truth.
Yeah, there probably is.
Yeah.
Your experience is custom tailored to your preferences in the virtual earth.
I think it's some way. Even though I can't, I will say this one thing. I cannot stand simulation theory. I can't.
Ooh, dig into that.
There's just something in me. It's a knee-jerk reaction that I'm not going to say that there's not divisions, there's not planes of existence. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's like simulation in the way we look at it, that creators playing Sims and I'm just some code. I just can't. No, it just can't be.
Well, isn't it more like you're that your flesh is more? Isn't it more like Westworld, Jerry? In the end, like the whole sim theory
that you're being broadcast, your consciousness is being broadcast into your flesh.
Yeah.
I don't really think that's assimilation, though. I think that's just. Think that
if you could jump between bodies, or get, I don't know.
I don't think that's possible.
If you watch Westworld, you'll understand kind of the model.
I understand what you're saying, that the body is a receiver, like a cable box, and the central node is sending a signal that I am John. And then if the signal got crossed and got sent to you like Freaky Friday, then I'm Jerry and you're me. Is that what you're talking about?
Not really. I think, well, I don't know how everyone thinks about it, but the idea of sim theory is that this is like a fully immersive Sims game. So you've got a character that you run, but you also feel everything that is. And, a lot of people talk about how could be that we got into this, we built this, we came into it, and we forgot. And we've been reincarnating millions of times. But way back in the beginning, it might have been a virtual reality game or something like that.
Maybe.
But we're still flesh, we're still as it appears also at the same time.
Right.
Right?
And what we know from science is that when you dig down to the smallest particle, you find the 0 point field and nothing after that.
Yeah, I could see that, I guess. I don't know. To me, it just seems, I don't know.
That's my thing. It's like
I think when you got Scott Adams pushing it and Mike Cernovich pushing it, you look who's pushing simulation theory. It just makes me knee jerk.
Two people I do not follow.
Yeah, they're pushing it very hard. Collective consciousness. They're one of the foremost drivers of it.
Well, I think that's a very real thing, the collective consciousness.
I do too.
That's got nothing to do with sim theory, really.
And I could tap in being intuitive. I could tap into the collective consciousness.
Everybody can. That is,
that's true.
quote unquote, your higher self, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think about the idea of space above us and all that beyond space?
Like other planes of existence? Is that what you're talking about? Like
physical space.
Outer space.
Yeah.
I don't know. I go from it not existing, just being a manifestation, to it existing, and there's many universes and planets and alien races and back and forth. Is that what you're asking, Nish? Like, it could be depends on the day.
Is it real? Do you think what we are told about space and the pretty computer graphics?
No. I'm pretty sure the moon is some artificial satellite.
Yeah. See, that's what I was trying to get at.
No, I'm pretty sure the moon is some artificial satellite. I mean, it rings like a bell.
Allegedly.
Why I was put there, I have no idea. Like Tiamat exploding.
It's apparently the director's studio for the Truman Show down here.
Possibly. It could be the Archon's director's studio. When you get set back, if you go into the light, that's the light. The junction station's on the moon.
I've been thinking a lot about the moon lately. And I think...
Made a sheet?
No, I think that what we see is some kind of projection around whatever is really there.
a great possibility. Yeah. I mean, it's a possibility too that like Josh Reeves talks about that the moon has so many craters on it
Yeah.
that if it was got hit by that many asteroids, the Earth should have so many more hits.
Not only that, they're all perfect circles, and a lot of them face the Earth, which is impossible since the Earth doesn't rotate away from them. There's an Earth-facing side all the time.
Yeah. So it really makes you think,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure everything we've taught is a lie in some regard. I remember when I realized that years ago, and I was like, well, just need to go on what I think is probably true and do my best to help people.
I remember I've been pretty much anti-religion my whole life, but 2 or 3 years ago, when I first was finding out about everything, and I heard an interview with Leo Zagami about the Vatican and how horrible they are, I'm like, I laughed my ass off for like a 2 days straight going, I knew it. I knew those fuckers were evil. It was hilarious.
Remember, the Gnostics didn't want organized religion. That was given to us by Peter, which was later refuted by the false apostle Paul.
I just meant the modern day religion.
Well, I know, but I meant like the Gnostics, for example, how they structured churches was they pretty much just went how Yeshua did, which was went around and gave sermons and helped people and stuff like that. And any hierarchy that they had was voted on and was randomly rescheduled within the group every 30 days. So no one ever had a position power longer than that. So yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
It wasn't supposed to be what it is now. I can tell you that much.
I don't think so.
I would have loved for James and Mary Magdalene to have gotten a hold of the church and Thomas.
Brother James?
Yes.
Instead I enjoy that Gospel of Thomas.
Oh, I love the Gospel of Thomas. It's one of my favorite books. The Book of Thomas the Contender is good too.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I never read the
What
Bible.
do you think the Earth has consciousness? What do you think about the Earth?
The planet itself?
The planet, not the world on top of it. The world that we live in, the world that is the planet.
All right, I'm going to say it's very harsh. I'm going to have a very non-Gaia look at this.
Yeah, that's bring what you've got.
I think the Earth does have consciousness, but I think it's manifested by the creatures and life forms that live on it. And I think that the Earth itself does not have consciousness.
That's interesting.
So it's, the plants, the animals, the humans, the aliens, the collective consciousness of even the universe manifests itself. That's what drives, along with, of course, whatever gravitational force or whatever gravity is from the moon and the sun, drives our weather patterns. I think it's a combination of both collective consciousness as well. I don't think the Earth itself has a conscience. I don't think Gaia itself has a conscience. I just don't.
I heard, did you hear the interview with, I hate to bring it up again, Tracy Twyman on THC?
Yes. I agree a lot with Tracy. I disagree a lot with Tracy, but go ahead.
Yeah, me too. But I really like that idea about the gods falling, descending to our reality and becoming rocks or part of, or the planet itself. I think she was talking about they became planets, right? So they fell into the third density and became planets. Jupiter became Jupiter. And whatever goddess became Earth, and then they had their own shit going on there. But that was their fall. They left. They had arisen to this angelic state or whatever, and then they fell, becoming the planets.
I know she mentioned that, and I just don't agree with her on that. I think that the planets themselves are just material organ. I like Tracy. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of things that I do agree with her on.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either. I just found it interesting. I personally,
that's the thing is anything Tracy says, I find it interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's things that she says, and I'm like, no. And there's things that she says, and I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Right.
I just
like this whole thing about the mountain that you could see out of the side of your eye that leads to in the North Pole that leads to Nirvana or Eden or whatever. I've heard that from other people in other ways, and it could be true, but I don't think people are leaving clues to it, but maybe they are. I really don't know. I mean,
I do. I mean, I like Tracy. I like her books. Genuflect is very good.
Yeah, I want to read it.
But I don't. There's some things that she says, like some things Gordon says, and I'm just like, but that doesn't mean I don't like them. I'd actually want to talk with Gordon. I actually do want to maybe debate him one time. We probably end up agreeing with a lot of things more than I think we would disagree about.
I think you guys should oil wrestle.
Okay, we can do that. Gordon, if you wanna oil wrestle, I'm down for that. We gotta stream it on YouTube, on Jerry's channel. So if you want to do that, we can. We do need a special guest referee though.
In a safe word.
Carlwood.
Yeah, Greg Carlwood. There you go. And we can do a little bit of oil wrestling, and that's how they did it back in Greco-Roman days. I heard.
We'd ask you the question, the debate question first. You'd wrestle, and then you could answer.
There's going to be nothing extra than just the wrestling. Okay, there's not going to be nothing else. But yeah, when it comes to all this woo-woo esoteric stuff, I pretty much my beliefs are everybody has their own personal beliefs, and it could be wrong, it could be right, but is any of it ever? I guess that's the only thing I would disagree with someone who follows strongly the left-hand path and practicing complete darkness and causing suffering and harming the global consciousness or the universal consciousness on a grand scale. That'd be the only person I would be like, hey, stop, But everybody else, I mean, it's just like I have a lot of similar beliefs to Sikhs or to people that follow Zoroastrianism, Buddhists, or Hindus. So I mean, they're not. None of them are enemies of mine. But then again, you could also argue that majority of them, if not all of them, are right-hand path religions. So of course they would.
Right. Good stuff. Did we get any questions?
John's actually been answering them
as we go.
As we go.
Trying to.
You're monitoring.
If anybody else has any questions, definitely ask them real quick because I don't mind that.
I don't think anyone's in chat. Oh no, they're back.
I like Q&A. Q&A's fun.
I know, Effluent. I know it's a lot of stuff. I know. I don't buy it. We're talking about the moon landings.
I don't buy the moon landings either. I mean, I go back and forth to, was it all done on a Hollywood soundstage, or is it real? I go back and forth, or have we ever really gone to the moon? Is there a secret space program? I go back and forth.
I don't think so. I think the moon landing was a power play kind of thing. False flag, if you will, a hoax event. It
was interesting how they did the Masonic ritual beforehand, to the nutsack of Jabalon, as Josh Reeves says. Now,
the thing about it is people don't, maybe they do or don't realize it, but I mean, it was never really broadcast on television. What was broadcast was a camera filming the monitor in NASA, in Mission Control. They're filming the monitor. It wasn't even like a real broadcast. Plus, it was, didn't they delay it after the ham radio operators were picking it up? And there was all kinds of shenanigans. So, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, NASA had to go back and ask, how do we get across the Van Allen radiation belt? And I'm like, how do you forget that? Our technology should have evolved from then.
No. They say that the astronaut, for some reason, the Apollo astronauts got through and back quickly enough to not be affected. But they never quite explained how the 700 rolls of film were never.
Well, yeah, but they're saying now
they can't
Jerry,
get through it. Yeah,
they can't get through it again. And I'm like, why? Yeah, like, okay. I mean,
yeah, that's what Christians call the firmament to me.
Or the Gnostics think it could be the barrier that separates us, that the archons keep us under. Yeah, I could see that.
And I don't think there's anything beyond it.
There's a possibility there's not. I'll raise you that. I'll go possibility there's times where I believe that there isn't. So, yeah.
But I don't know. It could be like Michael Joseph talks about this, how the moon landing, what that did to the collective was make space real. It generated space.
Yeah, and Michael, I love Michael. I have a special affinity. There's certain people that have a special affinity, like Walter Bosley, Michael Joseph.
Yeah, me too.
Chris Knowles.
Yep, Chris Knowles.
Michael, if you're listening, get up with me because I want to talk to you. Because the way you look at the JFK assassination, that JFK may have been the willing martyr, was brilliant. was brilliant. And yeah, so
Michael is brilliant.
There's a group of people out there who say that Kennedy's not dead. Neither is Marilyn. All these people aren't dead. They're just elsewhere.
yeah, I've heard that.
I've heard it's Jimmy Carter.
Seth Rich is on an Israeli beach.
You know,
I
did
know.
Seth Rich even exist?
Wait,
Well-
Jimmy Carter's still alive?
Yeah, no. I've heard someone say JFK is Jimmy Carter.
Okay. Wait, I was like, what?
It's a guy. It's a Dallas Goldbug guy.
Mandela.
Nah, it's not Mandela.
I mean, I don't know. Is Rockefeller still alive? You know, I mean, but I tell you what, I'm gonna be celebrating the day the good old Two Boots McCain finally kicks the bucket.
Oh, I know. Amen.
See how ethical he's getting on Twitter. He's like, oh, you know, we need to do better things for our loved ones. Like,
he said now he wrote a book and it's a tell-all, and he's really going to get Trump and really going to get everybody else. And I'm like, go ahead, Two Boots McCain, go ahead. You know where the Two Boots McCain thing comes from? Okay, so McCain like broke his leg or something, or sprained his ankle. I think it was sprained his ankle.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, and he had one of those boots on. You
Oh,
know,
right,
and,
he switched legs.
Yes, he switched legs, and he was like, I was getting ready for frying the turkey, and my other leg got tired, so I put the brace on the other leg to give my leg a break when I was standing up. And I was like, John, it doesn't medically work that way.
I know. That just fueled the arguments that the boots were hiding ankle bracelets because they'd all been arrested.
Dude, I was so happy when I saw that on the day before. It was either Thanksgiving or the day before. I was so happy. I was giggling with a friend of mine, just giggling like a schoolgirl about Two Boots McCain of how dumb and elite we are. I was freaking laughing.
And Hillary had one the same time.
Yeah.
And there was a story about Chelsea having one, but those pictures were actually like 10 years old.
Yes. Now, Huma did wear a lot of flared pants. A lot of flared pants.
I'm sure her and Wiener are cooperating. If there's anything going on at all. I don't think so. I think it's.
I really don't know.
They're waiting. I think what's going on is you're seeing a stalling until midterms, and they think there's going to be some kind of blue wave, and they're going to brush it all under the rug, like they were going to do if Hillary won.
Then again, that depends if Trump's hashtag our guy. So.
What do you mean blue wave?
The Democrats think that everyone hates Trump so much that they're going to take over both houses.
Oh, I see.
In the midterms, a wave of blue, and they couldn't be more wrong. I got nothing else.
Yeah.
It's a good place to end it.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, John. John, you want to talk about you want to plug anything or?
Yeah. Visit my website, fixyourgut.com, and contact me through the website, Fix Your Gut, and I will send you a free copy of my book. Read my blogs and get some health advice.
Yep, I've got all those links in the description, and John is in our chats. If you want to chat with him, you come into the Discord of the Nightbot. John, I know someone's ringing doorbell. Go ahead, go get it.
Yeah.
All right, bye, guys.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much.
You're awesome. Talk to you later. And thank you, everyone, for watching. Be sure to tune in next week for a surprise guest. And thanks again.
I have an idea, Jerry.
Do you?
Yes.
Well, fill me in. I haven't picked. No, it's not me.
No, I want to. Let's do you.
I already
Honey,
have
Jerry, let's do you.
I already have someone.
Oh, you do? Okay. Mm-hmm. You always do.
You can do me in Portland. We can record. We can record it. You know
this is
what I
all
mean.
nasty. I know what you mean. Yes.
You could do that too, but I mean. So, all right. Goodbye. Good night, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great